Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning. And oh, is it ever a good morning? And hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 664 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Friday, June 6th, 2025, and it is a pretty nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. A little bit of cloud in the sky, but I can see the sun. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And I really, 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 really wish that you guys could have seen the pre-show today.
The green room convo. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Look, who's kidding who? You know what we're talking about today. Come on. I mean, come on. It's just too funny. I mean, I couldn't literally, if I sat down and wrote this out as a short story, or said, I'm going to write a novel and here's the outline, they'd be like, get out of my office. Nobody would believe that shit. And I don't know how many times I've said that in the last 5 years. But once more, it's another case of, are you serious? Is this real? This is happening in real time. We're watching the President of the United States of America, the most powerful political leader on earth, have a shouting match with the richest man on earth.
I swear, I popped in. Mr. Grizzly was waiting for me. I go, how are you? And he goes, I'm doing okay. How are you? And I'm like,
this is the most absurd thing of absurdities. It's like comedy writers are going, come on, man. You're going to put the Beaverton, the Onion, we're going to go out of business because real life has gotten so crazy we can't even compete anymore.
I'm laughing so hard. My armpits are already wet.
It's the funniest shit I think I've ever heard.
Okay.
And the threads on Twitter right now, unfollow Elon. Oh, really? Are you all 10 years old?
A whole bunch of people. So I've unfollowed Elon just for today. Because clearly I'm missing out. Oh my God. Okay. A big thank you. With me as usually is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, and I've been laughing so hard I actually left the twins behind. So I don't have them with me right now. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corbin Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. And I'm so sorry to the sponsors that I can't see your names without laughing.
Has nothing to do with that. It's just the absurdity of what's taking place right now.
Oh my God, this is so terrible. Okay. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
Pretty good. Surprisingly pretty good. And I barely slept a wink last night. I don't know. I went to bed at my regular hour and tossed and turned and had stupid ass sertraline dreams that totally disrupt your sleep patterns. Woke up, I don't know how many times, but I'm in a great mood. In a great mood because I'm watching two of the biggest assholes on earth scream at each other in public. And now they're saying, this is funny. Both claimed it was just a prank. Musk saying, "Relax, guys, it was just a prank," and Trump calling it a beautiful prank.
The typical thing, right? It's like, can't you take a joke, man? As you can see, because a rupture between such a long-standing and lovely marriage that was built to last is such a tragic thing. Mr. Grizzly and I, even though we did not coordinate, have shown up appropriately in black for mourning. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is just so exactly, Kid Carol. It's better than My Young and the Restless.
I don't know if this one is authentic or not, but I gotta share it with you because it's too funny. I don't know if it's authentic, but it's like Elon Musk, or mediocre Musk, is constantly high on ketamine, always making promises he can't keep, not to be trusted. He wants to go to Mars. How about you go back to Africa? So
that one's not real.
It's I don't imagine that it is.
Yeah.
No.
But oh my God. But when we're talking about going back to Africa, you know who is saying it though, right? Steve Bannon.
Oh yeah. He's serious. Like he's been talking about this for a long time though, Bannon.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, Steve Bannon doesn't like competition. IQ 47, even less. So don't be surprised if down the road that Elon Musk becomes the first white South African Donald Trump would rather deport than import.
Well, first time for everything.
Oh my God. I'm terrible. I should not be enjoying this much.
Okay, we should take a moment for sober, somber second thought. I'm going to share this real quick because
I thought about it again. It's funny as fuck.
It is. But I'm going to share this because of the date. It's very important. This is June 6th, which is the anniversary of D-Day. And here's the latest Heritage Minute.
They were just kids from New Brunswick. Never even left the North Shore before. Dad trained them the best he could. But how could they possibly be prepared? This was the biggest operation the world had ever seen. He'd already served in the First World War, earned the right to stay home, raise his children. But how could he send those boys into battle and not be by their side? Many were killed that day. One was my father.
Major Archie McNaughton was 47 when he died on D-Day, the invasion that marked the beginning of the end of the Second World War.
Oh, I recognize that voice.
Yeah, that's Peter Mansbridge. How is that for production quality for exactly 60 seconds of video?
Yeah.
60 seconds of video, and I'm like, am I watching Saving Private Ryan here? Like, well done, Historica.
Yep, indeed. So there you go. Fetch the twins. Just a proof of life.
Yes.
Yin and yang. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Of course, right, the solemn day and the segue and the transition. You handled that way better than I did, Mr. Grizzly. Because, I mean, there's no way to make that transition gracefully. and you did really well. But yes, I think it is 81 years ago today.
Yes.
So, yeah, Juno Beach, a stretch of Normandy coastline in France, where Canadian forces played a crucial role in the D-Day landings. In 1944, course, the beach is the location of the Juno Beach Centre, a Canadian museum and culture centre dedicated to commemorating the sacrifices of Canadian soldiers during World War II. On the day, the 3rd Canadian Infantry Division and 2nd Armoured Brigade landed on Juno Beach, a 10-kilometer stretch between Sword and Gold beaches, and the Canadian troops were among the first to land, facing heavy German defense, and a nation has been grateful ever since. So, yeah, thank you to all. I mean, the freedom that we enjoy, right? So you have to have a proper reverence. Again, I know this is sounding odd coming from me today, given everything else that we're doing, but even though I'm still giggly, yes, trust me, I am fully sincere when I'm saying this. It's just a very weird day. Oh my. Okay. As well, tonight, game 2,
Looking
Oilers
forward to
versus
that.
Panthers. Pardon?
Looking forward to that.
Yes. So at 8 p.m. Eastern for those who are watching, 6 p.m. local if you are in Edmonton. And if you're a hockey fan otherwise, if you're a AHL follower, the Abbotsford Canucks can knock out the Texas Stars to advance to the final tonight. And the Laval Rocket, unfortunately, were swept in their series and will not go to the final. And the ECHL, the Trois-Rivières Lions, have a 2-1 lead over the Toledo Walleye. Since we were talking about serving our country, we talked about Marc Garneau yesterday, and there was an editorial cartoon that was just
It's brilliant.
absolutely perfect, and we thought we would share it. So for those who are listening and can't see it, it's would be a picture of from a space shuttle in the International Space Station, where you see a corner of the Earth and then in the stars, and the stars have sort of aligned themselves to spell out Marc was here. It's perfect.
It's Bruce McKinnon for the Chronicle Herald.
It's perfect. It's just perfect. Well done, sir. That you captured the moment right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Also, talking about Canadians that we're proud of who have served, yesterday was former Prime Minister Joe Clark's 86th birthday.
Way to go, Joe. I've had the pleasure of meeting Joe a couple of times in downtown Ottawa. And he's you just literally bumped into him in a corner store once. He was buying a newspaper. I was buying a Gatorade, I think. And he was standing right in front of me. And I'm like, and I said out loud, Joe Clark? He goes, yes. I go, oh, honor to meet you, sir. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it. He goes, oh, it's always good to meet a fellow Canadian who's proud of democracy. And I like it. I'm like, he was such a Joe Clark. I had friends who were at the Earl of Sussex pub back in, was it the Salt Lake Olympics?
Mm-hmm.
What year was that? 2004?
2002, I believe.
2002.
I think.
So Salt Lake Olympics, and Team Canada won the gold medal in Olympic hockey for the first time in 54 years.
Right.
And Joe Clark was there to watch the game at the pub, and all these people were there. And when they got up to sing "O Canada," well, when "O Canada" started to play, he got up, and everybody stood up. And in the pub, I was watching it, and with a group of friends, we all did the same thing. We all got up, stood up, took our hats off, and just. It was a proud moment. So, yeah, in many respects, he's a regular Joe.
Happy belated birthday, good sir. I hope it was as fantastic as you are.
And that's Bucky. I met Joe, and he was much more gregarious than I thought. Yes, yeah, he's yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you would think, like, be a very, very serious man. Very serious things.
But he's a character, and he's much taller than I thought.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, he's a typical prairie boy. They're all 6'2". I mean, honest to goodness, I'm in Calgary with my buddy, and I'm like, I feel oddly short. And he's like, yeah, everybody here is like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". I'm like, I'm not used to that. Usually I'm, I'm not saying I'm towering above everybody, but I'm usually one of the taller people in the room.
Yep. I felt
not in Calgary.
I mean, of course, in like the Netherlands, right, the tallest people in the world
forget
on
it.
average. But when I went to Minnesota, it was the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, these Vikings, everybody's tall. I was like, geez, man.
Yeah.
That Midwestern corn-fed thing really does work, doesn't it? Woo. The comment section is good. Yeah, it must be really good today. Oh my God. Oh, thank you, Kit Ryan. The beard looks good too, but you look 10 years younger today without.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. You do
yeah.
look younger.
Every now and then I like to switch it up
No.
because the kids demand fashion.
And Tavi G's like everybody, not everybody, but like, I mean, the average height of a prairie farmer boy is tall. They're tall. It's
They're
like,
tall.
it was
Yeah.
freaking. And then when I went up to Edmonton, I'm like, okay, I feel normal again.
Yeah.
Something about southern Alberta or mid to southern Alberta where there's, you get up a little bit further north and it's like, nope.
Well, our friend Dave Gray is 6'4".
Yeah. Yeah.
I
There
guess
you
in
go.
Murray Billett, I think that we interviewed, I think he too was like 6'3" or something.
Yeah. Murray's a big fella.
Yeah, Murray's a big guy. Yeah. So I mean,
Murray, of course, I'm a prairie fairy. I'm like,
yes, exactly. Very, very.
like, that's just hilarious.
But I mean, because I remember, right, in that conversation we were having with him, right, like this, he was talking to Stockwell Day, and Stockwell Day just hung up on him.
Yeah.
I guess, and his office was right across the street from Murray, so Murray just got up, crossed the street, knocked on the door, says, "Hi, I'm here to finish my conversation with Mr. Day." So you got like a 6'3" big, without the hair and heels,
Yeah,
guy showing up, going like this. I wasn't done yet. It's like, oh yeah, he'll see you now, sir. Oh man. Okay. Other stuff, kits and cubs. Um, there is some interesting polling data out that we'd like to go over for you. On three different things. The first one is on with regard to an Alberta referendum, and the first data point that we have for you here, if you will put it up, Mr.
Yeah,
Grizzly.
just give me a sec here while I blow it up so it's easier to see.
All right.
And I have the graphic here. Well, it's not even a graphic. It's just literally text.
So the question was asked by Abacus Data. Do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province of Canada? No, 69%. Yes, 18%. And then the next question.
Oh, wait,
it's the next link.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Pull that up. Here we go. Bear with me for a second.
So I want these two data points to compare here. So
just waiting for the page to load.
Yeah, no worries.
It's taking forever for some reason. There we go. It's starting to load. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. That I don't know why that took so long to load. That was very bizarre. There we go.
And then, do you think Alberta will leave Canada and become independent in the next 5 years? Can you scroll down a little bit there, Mr. Grizzly, to see who asked?
Let's see. It was
It's Abacus as well. So Albertans, unlikely 66%, likely 14%.
63. Oh,
No,
sorry,
Alberta.
Canada. Right, sorry.
Yeah, and Canada, unlikely 63%. So it's only 3%, right? Difference. But people in Alberta believe it is more unlikely than people throughout coast to coast in Canada.
Yeah.
So maybe a silver lining that the people right there on the ground are like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
It's not.
All right. The next one that we have for you is on Prime Minister Carney's personal approval and approval for the current government and how they're doing the job so far.
Waiting for it to load here.
Right.
I don't know what's going on with the X this morning. Maybe Elon heard something he didn't like from me and is slowing everything down. It's literally here. I'll share the page with you so you can see what's happening right now. Oh, it's starting to load. Wow, it just loaded. It took that long.
Wow. So this is from Spark Insights. This is a polling company I'm not familiar with at all.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them at all.
This is a new name for me. Favorable, 60%. Unfavorable, 33%. So for a net 27% on the positive side rating. Now, if the same question is being asked about the government itself, then you will see that the results are similarly positive.
Yeah. 64% approve, 36% disapprove. So it's 36 and 34, and then you've got favorable 60%, unfavorable 33, with a net positive 27%. And then we'll go to the final link here.
And this is from Leger.
Yes, Ontario Federal Polling, Liberal Party of Canada 54%, CPC 37%, NDP 5%, CPC 3%. So it's up 5 points for the Liberals, down 7 points for the Conservatives. No change for NDP, and Green Party is up 2%, others 1%.
Yeah, in the province of Ontario.
That's just Ontario. Yeah, just
But
Ontario.
17%. So 7% drop already.
Yeah.
For the Conservatives.
Pretty massive.
It is. And a 5% gain for the Liberals. So that's a 12-point spread. In a month and a few days.
Yeah.
TikTok, pee-pee. TikTok. Canadians seem eager, for lack of a better word, to see you in the rearview mirror.
Well, it's happening.
Oh, well. You said you would grow and learn and change, and you lied. People gave you a month. They're not impressed.
Is it that he lied, or that he's just incapable of?
He's clearly incapable. But I mean, I don't even know why he promised that. See, we've seen him for the last 20 years. He's not evolved one bit in that time. I don't know why he thought he could sell that to us on that day. Hey, all I have to do is walk in a field with my wife with a camera running, and those saps will buy anything.
Well, they're his supporters. I don't even want to call them believers. I don't know, and I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but I do not know, and I mean this with all sincerity, I do not know how anybody could support that man if you looked at his voting record. If you looked at his 20 plus years as a member of parliament, to see that he has done nothing but leech off the Canadian public.
And produced very little.
Well, damn near nothing. I mean, the one thing he did produce brought down his party.
But I mean, the irony, again, being that the Conservatives sit on the front benches and go around the country saying, oh my God, we have a productivity issue. It's like, yeah, the leader of your party.
Yeah.
One bill passed in 20 years.
It's because he's an obnoxious narcissist and nobody can tell him anything. I don't even think Jenny Byrne can tell him anything. What was it? We had the CPC insider who spoke anonymously to the Toronto Star, said the reason he lost is because he's a dick.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know that. You know that. There are lots of people in the know who know that.
But you're saying it out loud.
Yeah.
To the press.
That's, we've been saying it for years, but somebody who's inside the party is actually coming forward and saying it. Look, we have said time and time again, we would like to see a healthy, progressive, conservative party in this country.
Yes.
We would. We would love to see that. We haven't had that since 2002. And even then, it wasn't that healthy, but it was still a progressive conservative party.
Mm-hmm. Peter
MacKay, like him, love him, hate him, despise him, whatever the case may be, is a progressive conservative, but he helped create what we have right now.
Yep.
So I hold him responsible.
Benedict MacKay.
Now, I'm not saying Peter MacKay's a bad man, because I don't think he's a bad person. I really don't. I think he's made some terrible mistakes, maybe some for self-preservation. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he is an individual with hatred in his heart who wants to harm people for his own good. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
I could be wrong about it. I don't get that vibe from him, though. I get that he can be a bit of a cocky prick sometimes, but so can I. I'm only human. I can be like that too. The difference being, I'm not in a position of political power to make change to this country that could be harmful to Canadians. I can try and influence people to do good and be good and live better and do better. And that's my goal in life, is to influence people to do better things, to make better decisions, to improve their lot in life by lifting up others around them. That is my goal. Somebody said, "Oh, do you want to be an influencer?" I said, only if I can influence people to do better in this world for each other. That's the only influence I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only influence I want. And if I can make a couple of bucks along the way, hey, cool. But, I just want to influence people to do good and to do better and to make good decisions that help each other.
Right?
A rising tide lifts all boats. So come on, let's make sure everybody has a boat. Because the problem right now is many people are just floating in the water looking for something to grab onto.
Hello,
hey, Dreamy
Dreamy.
Morgan. How you doing?
Morgan, hi. Welcome to the Beaver Lodge. Nice to have you.
Welcome to the party.
Okay. So,
well, I have
let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, are we good? I just wanted to share this one. Uncover the News sent this to me. It's another Truth Social. This is legit. This came out at 7:20 a.m. So literally 10 minutes ago. I'll put it on the screen and read it. This is old Trumpy going crazy here. The failing New York Times and the Washington Compost, two in quotes,
that was good.
That was pretty good. That have ruthlessly fought me for years have each done polls where a vast majority of those sampled are Democrats. In other words, the polls, just like their writings, are rigged. It is not possible for a Republican to do well in such a poll. They are corrupt as hell, in quotes. The real polls out there have me doing better than ever before. Just like Election Day 2024, where I won 7 out of 7 swing states, the popular vote, and districts by 2,750 to 505. I won the election in a landslide. The fake news media is failing our nation at levels never seen before. Make America great again. What is it with him? Is levels that no one has ever seen before.
Everything has to be the best or the worst or the greatest.
He that out so much.
He can only speak in superlatives.
That's it. He doesn't. Literally, that is all he's capable of doing.
Yep.
If it's not a superlative, well,
he got his hair done. Checked his polls. Baby, how they doing? They're corrupt as hell.
Thank you, Lizzo, for the melody.
Oh my God, what a guy! Of course, they're writing bad stuff about me. The polls are corrupt and rigged. Although, you know what, sir? We don't give you much credit, but 10 beaver points for the Washington Compost.
That was good.
I was inspired.
I'll bet you he didn't even come up with that. Now, here's something I got to say, though. It's have you ever in your life prior to Trump, let's go back 20 years and all through political history, have you ever seen a political figurehead or political figure, political leader, a world leader literally throw a temper tantrum in public like this before? Every time somebody says something about him that he doesn't like, he throws a temper tantrum. Like this
temper tantrum. Remember, he likes to brand everything.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Well, and Pierre Poilievre does the same thing too. I mean,
right.
But he's not a world leader. Pierre Poilievre is not a world leader. He's a party leader, and he doesn't have a seat.
Right. So, you saying that made me think of this thing here that I saw on Twitter. This is Jane of the North. I think that our viewers of the female persuasion will particularly enjoy this one. Mr. Grizzly, if you would.
So Elon goes, in quotes, kill the bill. And Trump goes, in quotes, Elon has TDS. So Elon goes, in quotes, I'm the reason Trump won. So Trump goes, in quotes, we waste billions on Elon. So Elon goes, in quotes, Epstein. And a flunky goes, in quotes, deport. And Elon goes, impeach. And that's why women are too emotional to be president. Yeah. It's like, I'm like, come on. Yeah. It's just so perfect. So perfectly written.
There was less drama at Degrassi Junior High.
Yeah. I'm like, I've seen Mean Girls, the original and the remake, and I'm going like, I don't think they were that catty.
So I'm picturing them too as we have
that's
something
a
in the
good point.
community.
Sorry, Hyperty 007. Any historical footage of Hitler I've seen looks like he's throwing a tantrum.
That's true.
You know what? You are correct. You are correct. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
See, this is why we have this conversation. So, if something that we forget, somebody can remind us thereof. Yes, you are correct. And he did several things about, chastising the media, and he was a complete fascist who took control of everything. And we can give you a history lesson on that someday. We're not going to do it right now, but yeah, good. Thank you for bringing that up, Hyperty. I really do appreciate that.
We've got Kit Christian who says, unfortunately, camping won't be watching. Don't worry, we're camping too.
Camping and vamping. Camping and vamping.
God, this is terrible. Oh my God.
Well, let's just go with the pile on here, because this is just too good. This is Mers in the Oval Office yesterday. Have you seen this?
This is the birth certificate of Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869, close to Bad Dürkheim, right? Yeah.
That's called
and
serious.
His Christian name was Friedrich.
Right. That's serious German.
Serious
right?
German name.
That's serious German. Bad Dürkheim is serious German. But I want to thank you very much for. First of all, I want to thank you for that. That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
It's a gold frame.
Fantastic.
Of
We'll
course.
put it up in a place of honor.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe we can, let's see. We have to put it up there someplace.
Oh, man. Okay. So.
It's a bit of a burn there, right?
Bit of a burn, indeed. Okay, so if you have been paying attention to social media in any way, shape, or form, Elon has been sniping at Trump from the sidelines for the past few days, mostly having to do with the alleged big, beautiful bill. It's not good. It's not great. It's going to send us into the poorhouse and all that kind of stuff. It's reckless spending, and he is correct about that. Except Elon Musk is also saying, like, doing this in the context of, like, I did my best to try to save America from all that reckless spending when I was at Doge, and it's like, dude, you made things worse. And eventually, all the stuff that you did is going to end up costing more when you consider the lawsuits and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and then, the lost intellectual ability. And at some point, you're going to have to build it back up, because you're going to wake up and go, oh, that's why we did it that way. Like, so you're not speaking from a position of strength here. But again, right, nuance is not the thing of Cult 45 and Cult 47. And the followers and all that kind of stuff. So right now, basically, mommy and daddy are fighting.
Oh, you got it. I got to show you this headline. This is in Newsweek. Wait till you see this. This came in about almost 30 minutes ago.
Of course it does. Russia offers political asylum to Elon Musk over Trump feud. Really?
I'm sorry. That's just too funny. That's just too funny.
And, with all the sniping, of course, as was the case for Taco, well,
Yes.
Donald could not tolerate that any longer. So he had to respond. And then there were like just, there's a little clip of him and some of the like initial tweets that came out, if you will. But listen to Donald Trump speak in the clip that he's speaking, and tell me if this does not sound like this, like a 15-year-old who just found out, because we have to go back in the time, that somebody that they had a crush on just walked in wearing somebody else's pin.
I'm trying to. Which is that? Hang on. Do you have a clip?
Yeah, it actually says clip 0 to 135 block B.
Okay, I want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure I had the right one here because there's a lot of them. Okay, yeah, I do have it. Okay, cool. I had it queued up and ready to go. I just wasn't sure if if I had the right one. So give me a second here. I will put this on the screen for you to enjoy.
The relationship between U.S. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk is unraveling in a very public way. It started at the White House when Trump expressed surprise at Musk's criticism of the government's recent tax bill.
I've always liked Elon, and it's always very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill, because the bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if it went well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best thing.
Musk left the Department of Government Efficiency last week, and since then, he's been critical of Trump, saying that the tax bill is a, quote, disgusting abomination and will saddle Americans with a crushing debt. Musk then took to his own social media platform, responding on X and saying, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Now, that prompted Trump to respond on his own platform, saying on Truth Social, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, in brackets here, that he knew months I was going to do, and he just went crazy.
Crazy, crazy for feeling so lonely.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. And then the tweets just kept coming. And here, Kits and Cubs. Okay, well, first let's start with the without me, he would have lost the election. Okay? Because listen, we don't do the conspiracy theory thing here, but there have been some conspiracy theories going around.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds a little bit like a confession in some way. Now, of course, if it's not a confession, then Elon, don't flatter yourself, darling. It's not without you that he would have lost with the elections, just without your $247 million.
I thought it was 300 either way.
Yeah, but it's not you. You personally, I don't think helped. Your money did though.
Well, and did he fix the voting machines? Trump practically said that some time ago.
But then Trump says a lot of things, right?
Yeah. So who knows?
So,
but
if we're not going to get into the conspiracy, I mean, if the conspiracy theory happens to be true, then this sort of sounds like a confession. But if let's say there is no conspiracy theory, honey, that wasn't you. That was your money. Don't flatter yourself. Those were your Benjamins.
Well, what time did this all begin? It started like at 10 to 3 yesterday.
Noon. Noon.
Oh, noon? Oh, okay.
Yeah, around noon. Like that little press conference thing was around noon when he was talking about that. And
it was the back and forth social media.
Yeah. And then it devolved from there. So there were more tweets.
We'll start with the first one.
So that Elon was wearing thin and all that kind of stuff. But Elon responds. If you scroll up, there we go. Well, no, the previous one when he was saying, it was like, oh, that's a lie. So sad. Of course, Elon doesn't say how or why it's a lie, just that it's a lie.
One of the tweets is gone. Apparently,
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, some may have disappeared. Some people may have thought better of it since we got them. And then, of course, Donald Trump, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. And then, of course, right, Elon talking down the Trump tariffs, not just the bill now. The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. Gee, way to go out on a limb, Elon. We called that one a while ago.
Yeah, we've been saying that for some time now.
I just, oh my God. Of course, then released like the reason why the Epstein documents are not, the Epstein files haven't been released is because Trump is in them. Well, I mean, we all suspected that he
We know
was. I mean,
that.
we saw that he was in the little black book, right? This, and then, of course, you have the Cash Patels and everybody else going through the rounds of the press going, no, Epstein killed himself. Really? Because when you guys weren't in power, that wasn't the narrative, was it?
Well, and I mean that it's the
But now that the files are what have come out and they're being delayed.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, he killed himself.
Yeah. But there was no good. Wait, huh?
Sure, girl. Sure, girl.
Your response tweet to this is just a thing of beauty. It's like,
Oh, well, yeah. This is Stormy Daniels got in.
yeah, Stormy Daniels entered the chat. And of course, your response is, I swear to God, Stormy Daniels must have been raised by a pack of feral drag queens because this is absolutely perfect, shady, fierce, and cuttingly hilarious. Confession, I'm a gay beaver, accidental humor. Who is in love with Stormy Daniels? So David Crookshank tweets, if I was Stormy Daniels right now, I'd have probably died from laughing. Stormy Daniels almost choked on my taco. Well, not my taco. I'm not that flexible, sadly.
Oh my God. And here's the thing. I swear to God, I am not kidding. This happened.
And the drag queens from New Orleans are extra feral. All drag queens can run in platforms, but no less ones can do it on cobblestone streets without spilling a drop of daiquiri. That's expert level.
She answered.
Yeah, Stormy Daniels is look. You may disagree with how she earns her living, okay, and that's fine.
Well, she's branching out into like other film now.
Yes, but
well.
you have to understand that she is a very intelligent woman. She knows what she's doing. Her tweets are biting. Her satire is incredible. And she's like, look, this is how I was able to earn a very healthy living. And like it or not, sex work is work.
Yes, it is.
Like it or not, it is. And again, some people may get bent out of shape over how she earns her living. She's upfront and open about it. She doesn't hide anything. I think she's hilarious. I think she's hilarious.
Listen, kits and cubs. I have never seen a Stormy Daniels film. So I might be one of the few men on the planet who first love her for her mind.
I've never seen any of her films either, believe it or not. I haven't.
Oh my God.
It's because I saw her on Twitter and some of the things she was saying, it's like, I only want to know her this way. I don't want to know her that way.
Yeah, same here. At this point, yeah.
And it's not a judgment. It's just I don't need to know about that.
Yep.
I don't need to know about that. It's there if I want to find it, but I don't need to know about that. I appreciate her for who she is and what she says and does.
Jeez. Okay. Now, I know I can't say that she's a friend of the Beaver Lodge, but I'm going to say she's a friend of the Beaver Lodge. I don't know if she'll see it because, I mean, her account must be blowing up. But I did respond back and say, it's like, you're always welcome if you want to come on our show. I mean, normally it's a Canadian show, but we'll make an exception for Stormy.
She wants to appear on the show. We're happy to have
Oh my God.
I do have to share this with you because Uncover the News just sent this to me, and I'm like, oh, this is a really good political cartoon.
Oh my God. Karen Levitt.
Karen Levitt at the podium with a giant crucifix around her neck.
Of
The
course.
president asked me to share this, and it's a picture of a Tesla on the White House lawn that says FORE for sale, SAIL.
It's so good. It's
So
so good. You got Kid PNC bio. Go wait until Trump cheats on Elon with Jeff Bezos,
well,
and then later on, Trump will go, "But we were on a break."
well, and so yesterday, Elon said something to the effect of he's gonna just shut down SpaceX.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's really bad because then
Yeah.
the Americans, to get anything to the ISS, need to rely upon the Russians, and that's going to cost them more money. And isn't Russia kind of like, you know,
Russia may not be inclined to help, or
yeah,
or might be inclined to help if Trump does them a favor, though.
well, you know,
And then, of course, well, we're going to cut the EV subsidies. Like Elon Musk is like, yeah, I asked that that happened because all subsidies are bad. So like Trump is trying to do some stuff to stunt on Elon, and Elon's trying to do some stuff to stunt on Trump like this. And I mean, it's just high school.
and and this is from, I guess this was 8:30 last night. SpaceX Starlink is giving 1 month of free service to new and existing users in wildfire affected areas of Canada.
Mm-hmm. And later on, Doug Ford was like, Starlink is done. Says Premier Ford of the deal Ontario had with Elon Musk-owned company. Asked about the break fee, the Premier says the government is talking to the company about it. You said that before.
Yeah, we've heard that before from you, Doug.
And if we go by your green belt statements, telling people that are your buddies that you're going to touch it, and then telling us that you're not, and then going out to touch it, and then going, oh my God, I'm sorry, I won't do it, and then doing it again. Yeah, I'll believe that one when it lasts, Mr. Ford. But no, of course you would say that yesterday, right? And for two reasons, actually. That's not the only reason, but yeah, first one. And then this one, if you got the tweet that has pride next to it.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Not
Because it is Pride Month, kids and cubs.
It's like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, but without the glamour and good taste. Honestly, kind of fitting that this level of catty public breakup between two aging divas is happening during Pride Month. I'm like, oh, that's frickin' hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And wouldn't it be totally fitting that for Pride Month, Republican men would celebrate by fucking each other over hard?
Oh, I mean,
oh my God. Fight. Now, kids and cubs, I know that mommy and daddy are fighting, and it's a terrible, terrible time. Trumpy Wynette is out there singing DIVORC
becomes final today.
But remember, both mommy and daddy are very politically promiscuous, so it won't be long before you have a new mommy and daddy, and it's double toys at Christmas.
Me
So don't worry.
little
Everything will work out fine.
and we'll be going away. Now that song's going to be in my head all day.
No, I've been singing it all day yesterday.
Well, I've been, look, growing up, riding in a pickup truck with my dad, listening to that on 8-track tape across the prairies in Alberta.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I grew up in Alberta, for those of you who didn't know. I spent 6.5 years there. So, yeah, I get it.
And of course, we get all of Tammy Wynette's greatest hits, right? The IVORC and Dump on Your Man.
Give him 2 arms to throw you. Just give him all the love you can. Stand by your man. And we
They're
remember.
justified and impatient.
Oh, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Oh my
KRF, KLF,
The
KLF.
KLF.
Yeah,
Oh my god. Oh my
KLF.
god. I swear, I am, I'm, oh. I'm probably gonna burn for this show.
Well,
It's way too much this much Schadenfreude, I'm sure, is a sin somewhere.
I mean, we've all got to go down for something.
I'm a horrible person.
Well, that's
I mean, let's like a fault. These two people are so out there that the fallout from this could actually be terrible for the entire world, and still I can't stop laughing.
this wait till you see this. It's the lace work on the doily.
I hate Max.
The New York Post. Big beautiful breakup. Trump Elon bromance explodes into insults and threats. It's a heart for those of you listening. It's a heart that's being ripped apart. But for me, it's the lace doily work around the edge of the heart.
Because that's classy.
Oh my goodness gracious! Miss Shadika just sent me a video. I'm gonna have a look at it here before I play it because I got to make sure it's.
I know I should be better than this.
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm weak.
Okay, here's the
my
problem
God.
with the only problem with Instagram videos is I can't when you open it starts and I can't hit the pause on it quickly enough.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll share this quickly because it's funny. You'll get a kick out of this, sir, and then we'll get back to the regular scheduled program. But Miss Shadika sent this to me, and it's good. I'll refresh it live here so that you can see it right from the beginning. But I got to get on the sound. Okay, there we go.
Can you explain your tweet from earlier today? The one where you called Trump's big beautiful bill an abomination? Ah, yes, hello, guten Tag. The bill is bad for the Americans. Imagine what would happen if it got approved. Imagine how great the world would be if your dad actually meant back rub. Stop trying to switch teams, Twitler. No, you must listen to me. He's trying to ruin the country. Why are you fucking telling me this like I don't know? You're the one that spent millions of dollars to get him elected, you fucking space Karen. There he is. Elon, we need to talk. You're saying a lot of awful things. Oh, that's why it smelled like flaming hot Cheetos and depression. I saw your tweets. Very mean tweet. You might be experiencing some TDS. You're hurting the American people. You've both got such a long uphill climb to reach mediocre. It's fucking amazing. Listen, the bill is perfect. Everyone's saying so. They're saying that I'm gifted for making it. You're not even re-gifted. You seem like you wake people up to tell them you're going to bed. He's on the Epstein list and that's why it's not been released. I've said it. Holy f***. Let's all act surprised. How dare you? I told you that in confidence, Elon. We're friends off. Are we close to a slap fight? I feel like we're really fucking close to a slap fight. That's it. I want my Tesla back. You can keep it. The stock's pretty much useless now. Slap fight. Slap fight. Come on, little X. We are leaving. Your body looks like an improperly packed parachute. I'm not going anywhere with you, you fucking Martian fart.
Oh my God. We're probably going to get dinged for that.
Drooby, it's DROOBIEE. Drooby the Marshmallow. It's on Instagram, and I think he's on Twitter as well. It's at the.drooby, DROOBIEE.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we might get dinged for that. I might have to remove it later.
Yes, just if you're watching this, please, we're not trying to infringe on your copyright. It's just so brilliant. We the
so
world
well
had to
done.
see it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh my word. So yeah, exactly. It all started with Elon, of course, saying stuff like that. The bill is a disgusting abomination that will saddle Americans with crushing debt, and then it went from there. Now speaking about Tesla, because it was mentioned here, Tesla um, has dropped 14% yesterday alone.
Yeah, how many billion is that?
$152 billion drop in the value of the company, bringing it below the $1 trillion mark.
Ouch.
And it's down 29% year to date.
Well, and you need to remember that the Chinese companies, and there's a multitude of Chinese EV companies, BYD being the one that I think of the most because I've been watching their products and they've been in battery development for decades. They're about to take a big bite out of Tesla.
Yeah. So if you take a little look there, that's 14.26% drop yesterday. Year to date, 24.94. Sorry, I said 29.
Almost 25%.
Yeah, 25
Yeah.
year to date.
Yeah, that's a big drop.
That's huge drop. And of course, there have been some rumblings that some people on the board of Tesla might be thinking it's time for him to go.
Yeah, well, and I can see that happening because I think it's the only way to save the company, to be quite honest with you. Divorce him, send him packing, and the company might be able to rebound. But the way it is right now, as long as he's in the position that he's in, he's going to drag the ship down with him. It's as simple as that. I said months ago, they should cut him loose. They should cut him loose. And you have to remember, he's not actually built anything. Tesla was created by two individuals, and he got interested, and he bought it up. He didn't build it. He didn't create it. He didn't design it. The only thing he's designed, I think, and I say I think he designed because we don't actually know that he did, but his fingerprints are all over the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Which is every review I've seen of it, everybody says it's a brilliant automobile. It's ugly, but it's a brilliant drive-by-wire. I mean, it's a brilliant design. And every review says the same thing. It's a well-built vehicle. Nobody I know likes the actual design.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get a coffee. I'll be right back.
All right. I think that we somewhat, well, there's a couple more things, but we've squeezed pretty much about as much juice as this one as we can. Oh my God. It's just too funny. Just too funny. But yeah, this is clearly the gift that's going to keep on giving for a while, unless both of them did realize yesterday, because they're both singing from the same page about it being some type of prank or farce, and realized just how much damage it was doing, and do have a minimal sense of self-preservation. But if there is a lull, it might be a temporary one, and something else comes up eventually. But yeah, I have a feeling that this will be a gift that keeps on giving for a little bit. Yeah, and you're right, Kit. Linda M. Like no one has ever seen is also a phrase that Doug Ford likes to swing around. He too likes to speak not exactly in superlatives, but it's the same game, but it's not necessarily superlatives that Doug Ford uses. But yes, a lot of things are pumped up. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, a good catch there, Kitland M. That he does absolutely the same thing here. All right, moving on. Yesterday, there's a lot of talk about tariffs, and that's because Doug Ford, again, take what he says with a grain of salt, because he's not actually in the room at the time, unless he's having some conversations with Nutlick on the side. But again, Nutlick can't take anything he says. First of all, he doesn't know squat about economics, it would appear, or trade at least, and clearly does not have the ear of the president. So I'm not quite exactly sure what it is that he brings to the table, other than a loudmouth, that speaks elogiously of Trump whenever he can at every opportunity. But other than that, I'm not sure what it is, what purpose he actually serves, really. But Doug Ford, who's running his mouth maybe a little too much, is raising expectations by stating that he's very confident that Trump and Carney are close to a deal. I have absolutely nothing one way or the other that can confirm or deny that. He might be telling the truth. He might just be blowing smoke to get some personal attention. But there have been, and this is confirmed, reports that they've been having private talks one-on-one. So that is definitely of interest, because if it's not just what they call the Sherpas, the negotiating teams and whatnot like this, but if they are actually talking to each other and texting each other, and it seems in the evenings that they are doing that, the thing about Trump listening to the last person that is in his ear, if Mark Carney is personally picking up the phone and talking to him, or personally sending him texts on an ongoing basis, that's a good way to make sure that you might have been the last thing in his ear at any given time. Now, there seems to be a lot of talk about something being done in time for the G7, when it's going to be happening in Kananaskis, and I think that's about like 9 days or 10 days from now, so it's not that long. That is, but it's not a deadline for anything in any material way, right? It's just a very high-profile event where there will be a lot of people present, and it would be a great time to be able to, make an announcement of that kind. But if people are having the impression, like there needs to be an announcement of some type of relief on some type of tariffs, or else this is a failure and it has to happen by the G7, or else it's a failure. I mean, that's not what's really going on here, because we have various tracks at the same time happening, right? As we mentioned yesterday on the show, or maybe yesterday or a couple of days ago, the decision by the Court of International Trade in the United States sent a signal to everybody everybody around the world that was trying to make a deal with Trump, that maybe you shouldn't be rushing to make one, because if these are indeed illegal and the courts go all the way and say it's illegal, why would you want to make concessions that you don't have to make at the moment? So all of a sudden, there's a much less urgency on the part of other nations to want to make those deals. And he did promise 90 deals in 90 days, and so far he's only got like a sort of memorandum of understanding of some kind with the UK, and that's about it. Lots of talk about like China really wants to make a deal, but we don't know. All these nations are calling me. They really want to make a deal. Well, there hasn't been one announced now, and we're pretty well into those 90 days. So,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to happen if you notice that there seems to be a theme here with conservatives, either in the United States or in Canada, with regard to their projects or stuff like that. Trump wants 90 bills in 90 days, but keeps on doing stuff that sends the signal to everybody else. Well, maybe it would be smarter for you to just drag your heels on this one. Danielle Smith wants a pipeline right away, but she's also trying to provoke a sovereignty referendum. You're really going to kill international investment. So even if you had a pipeline and you had all those routes approved, good luck trying to find a proponent. Especially, if you're trying to Alberta to be an independent country away and no longer has protection or anything from Canada. Like, this is just really weird, I guess. And then Doug Ford wants his Ring of Fire done, but he can't get over his dislike of Indigenous people enough to actually have it happen. So, I mean, Mark Carney might want to put those approvals there, but, and put in the process, but you got to help the guy help you.
Mm-hmm.
if you back in your provinces are doing things that are going to end you up in court or that are dissuading foreign investment on your own in your own right, you're not helping, and you're certainly not creating the winning conditions, to borrow a phrase from the Quebec referendum from last time, les conditions gagnantes. You're not creating the winning conditions for that pipeline or development of that ring of fire. And I think in the whole ring of fire that Doug Ford has been talking about forever, I think there's like one mine that's operating.
Yes.
Doug Ford has been yammering on about it like for 4 or 5 years. He just can't seem to get it done. Interesting. So there was a very, very interesting discussion yesterday on power and politics, and I would like to present some segments of it to you. And we're talking about, we're going to present it in 3 segments. The first one is talking a little bit about the shift in trade because we've got some data coming in, and we're taking a hit.
Oh, yes.
Right? Our exports decreased 15% in April, exports to the United States, or I think maybe exports overall, I'm not sure. Now, our exports to countries other than the United States have already started going up. They've gone up 3%, but clearly that's not enough yet to compensate. So
it's going to take a little time, and it's going to take a little bit, unfortunately.
But
it
it
is
is
a little bit.
Yeah, but it is being felt. So the second one, the clip that we'll show is, the conservatives.
We'll show the first one first, and we'll get to the second one.
And dialed into.
Okay, well, we got some new data today from Stats Canada that shows just how much of a toll the tariffs are taking on the Canadian economy. New numbers show Canadian exports have plunged as Canada's trade deficit is now a record $7.1 billion, meaning Canada is bringing in far more than it's putting out to the world. And this led to some criticism from the Conservatives today, who say the Liberal government isn't responding strongly enough to the tariffs.
Facing enormous business and job losses, the very Prime Minister who promised to be elbows up is now allowing trade at the new Gordie Howe Bridge to collapse.
So, James, on that, we've seen the retaliation calls for responding to the 50% on steel and aluminum, with Mark Carney saying they're going to take some time because conversations are at this delicate stage. But there is a constituency in the country, the steel industry in particular, and the aluminum sector, who want to see them hit back. I mean, how do you calibrate that when you're the negotiator, the interlocutor, and, facing this kind of political pressure?
You move slowly and deliberatively, and you don't rush into things. We are, as of this moment, about 1/8 of the way through the second Trump presidency. We have 7/8 left. And the reality is, if through the second and third of those eighths you think that you're done with the challenges of the Trump administration, I think you're playing a fool's game. As I said, there are these 3 dynamics of tariffs that we're dealing with: steel and aluminum, the so-called fentanyl tariffs, and the 10% global tariffs, as well as the reciprocal things that he talks about. And then there's the whole issue of CUSMA, or the renegotiations that have to come up in calendar 2026 for ratification at some time in the future, probably with a Democratic-controlled Senate, or House rather, and probably with a Republican-controlled Senate, one presumes, based on contemporary polls. So that the whole world is going to change in the next while. So I think anybody who thinks that it would be wise for Prime Minister Carney or the government to rush in or to make assumptions in the first 1/8 of the second term of the Trump administration, and for any of that to hold through the political storms and challenges that are in front of us, I think is playing a fool's game. The responsible thing to do is to play the long game, is to recognize that Canadians have no fight with Americans. We want to do business and continue to cheer for each other's athletes and support each other's economies and do business and have our families, vacationing and enjoying each other's company. And Americans have the same view of Canadians. That's the relationship. It's the long game, and that will be rebuilt brick by brick because it has not been destroyed by one president or one sweep of tariffs.
Well, Jonathan, Louis Blouin was here earlier, and he's heard, similar to what I have heard, that if there isn't a deal struck in this window leading up to the G7, it could go on. It could really drag. And you're going to see those third quarter economic numbers kick in the United States, where the pain of the tariffs will be felt. That will be Trump's problem. He can't blame that on Joe Biden, right? But it means those numbers and those industries, it's going to be a tough slog.
All right. So we'll continue on from that point there. But you will notice here that you saw that conservative speaking in the House. The Prime Minister said he'd be elbows up. Where are the elbows? You guys couldn't even do a full-throated denunciation of Trump.
Yeah. So where are your elbows, punk?
Number two, oh my God, they're letting trade collapse at the border. May I remind you, the convoy and the blocking of the bridge and the attempt to block the border at Coots, and you guys encouraged it. The bear hug operation. Pardon, sir?
You brought them coffee and donuts.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Damien Keurig did that as well.
Yes. You're kicking and you don't have a leg to stand on this.
I'm busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest.
Right. And then you will notice that for the conservatives, there seems to be this, again, and this is since the Harper days, of course, there's a fetish for expediency here. So throughout the whole campaign, it's like, why isn't he releasing documents and stuff about his finances? Because that's the ethics commissioner's job to do. His job was to submit everything to the ethics commissioner. And he did, while they don't have their clearance. And now they're there. It's like, well, we need a budget. We need a budget now. Give us a budget now. Give us a budget now. You don't know what you're buying. You don't know exactly how you're shifting. You haven't talked to anybody. You haven't had the NATO meeting. You haven't had the G7 meeting like this. But you want a budget now. For what purpose? Why would you want to deploy resources, energy, effort, and whatnot to produce a budget in 3 weeks that would be, first of all, probably get our credit rating dropped because it probably wouldn't be serious in any way, shape, or form, and it would be obsolete before it was even printed. And it would be incomplete. It would not, because then we'd have to present something else after we have those meetings. So here's what we're going to do. And then you turn around and go, oh my God, see, they're already screwing up on their budget.
The House has been sitting how long now?
Right? It's like, and now it's like, well, gee, oh my God. Like, he said he would get the tariffs down, and we got like 25% more. It's like, we didn't get 25% more tariffs because of anything that Carney did. We got 25% tariffs because somebody said taco and somebody's feeling, yes, singular, got hurt. And so he lashed out.
Mm-hmm.
So the conservatives want everything. The conservatives are basically Verica Salt.
Oh, yes, and not the band.
I want it now. I want it now.
The character from
Willy Wonka.
Thank you.
I want it now. Now.
Not the band.
You can't have it now. And you're not going to get it now. And it's really, really, really dumb to be asking it for now. And you have James Moore, who's one of yours, who's on TV, that says slowly and deliberately. Take your time. Play the long game. Dudes.
Obviously somebody who is not just interested in partisan politics, but who is actually interested in moving the country forward.
Dudes, enough with the now and where is it, and now and where is it?
Yeah.
The now and where is it is on your front porch. Why does your leader still not have a damn security clearance?
Or a seat. Sorry, that's funny.
You screwed up your costed platform. Maybe you'd like to try again. And release another one to the public. You've got the time now. Maybe you would like to tell us what it is you would do if you were actually in government, because you went through a whole election campaign failing to tell us what you were going to do economically, or even let us know who your finance minister would be. You've got some things to work on, you know.
Well, I see lots of people screaming right now online about how things are starting to cost more. They shouldn't have cut the carbon tax. What? You were screaming to cut it for years. It's been done, and now you're mad? I feel like it's gold member. Can I give you a pipe and a crepe, a bong and a blintz, a smoke and a pancake? I see there is no pleasing you.
Jeez. All right. Let's continue on with this talk about playing the long game.
That being thoughtful, taking time to make the right decision at the right moment. Again, I don't think our expectation is that by the G7, next 9 to 10 days, everything is going to be solved, but we may be in a better place. And imposing counter tariffs in those 10 days will not help Canadian industry, help Canadian workers, those who are affected, as much as hoping to get past this next little bit of time and see where we can get. I don't think that Liberal governments under Trudeau or Carney in the last 5 months have shown an uneasiness in applying reciprocal tariffs or counter tariffs and being targeted, making sure that they're punitive enough on industries that are going to really push back against Trump. And so he feels it domestically and he hears the complaints. That's the way to approach it. That's the way they've done it until now. And I think that they're continuing down that path. I think at some point there will be, if there's no short-term deal where some of it is lessened, I think there will be a Canadian response. There'll have to be. But this, I understand that the Conservatives, the opposition, that's their job, is to oppose, but I'm not sure they're scoring many points right now. People understand that immediacy is not a solution.
Right. Can I just say, sorry, I don't mean to take time from others, but there's nothing special about the G7 summit other than it's a media moment and an opportunity to do something. But there's nothing about that should box in the Prime Minister, number one. Two is, as I said, we have these three dynamics of tariffs that are in front of us, plus the CUSMA agreement. With any negotiation, Canada, we do have some puts and takes that we can have with regard to negotiations. Because we are facing pressures on steel and on aluminum and on autos, and because there are industries that are really hurting acutely right now, the puts and takes and some of the compromises we might be prepared to do in order to settle that dynamic, those might be some of the things that we want to hold on to, lest we have to give more in a future CUSMA negotiation. Right. So it's a lot for the government to balance here, the needs for the tariff dynamics in these three phases, but also have to recognize that there's going to be an expectation for perhaps some give on a CUSMA agreement in the coming couple of years. So the government should go slow.
Yeah, look,
be very judicious about what's in front of us.
Yeah, and certainly wasn't trying to leave the impression that the G7 summit is a do or die here, but it is the next time the two leaders are together, and Trump being kind of transactional, the CEO to CEO thing. I think that's kind of what they were looking at as a window for progress or movement. Andrew, your thoughts on the pace of the response? I mean, go slow and stay calm. Is that your advice as well?
Well, I think that is where they're going, but probably for a somewhat different reason than what we've been talking about. The objective, I don't think, is any longer to get us back to where we were. I think that it's now very firmly believed in Ottawa and Queen's Park and other places that we are now moving the economy into a point of transition, and they are starting to think about the what next. What goes beyond where we've been for the last 30 or 40 years with the auto sector? What does our advanced manufacturing sector look like? Those are the questions that are going to take a bit more time to work through, and I think that's why you're seeing the federal decision making go slowly as it is, both in terms of what they're building in their budgets, whenever that appears, their spending plans, what they're doing in terms of the trade pieces. But this idea that somehow this is, and I think we had this under Trudeau, that this was all just going to get recentered, we get things settled back down, make a few tweaks to CUSMA and off we'd go. I think this government, the Carney government, is looking at much more fundamental restructuring, and I think, frankly, Ford has bought into that as well, that something else bigger is going to happen here, because in part, we can't trust the partners that we have had down south. We've got to actually figure out what we're going to do going forward.
Shashi, what's your sense of the appetite for the go slow approach, right? Because the election was the elbows up, hit back, the dollar for dollar tariffs. You're going to run out of economy a certain amount of time, and they did kind of around the 15th, 16th of April, right, when there was a remission put in place on a bunch of the tariffs. What's the appetite to go slow and kind of push through the pain?
Well, everything can be, looked at through that lens of elbows up. You talk about pain. What is actually the pain threshold? What is the pain threshold for Canadian households? What is the pain threshold for families that are expecting and bracing for a loss of work, loss of income in these sectors that are going to be on the front line of these tariffs and are already on the front line of the tariff impacts, but also all of the secondary, tertiary, and ripple effects through the Canadian economy in terms of the impact on workers. Now, I would say that through the lens of elbows up, I do think Canadians are prepared to eat something of a bruised sandwich to an extent. But that is not something that can continue indefinitely. It is not something that can continue in a worsening or a degrading situation that gets worse and worse and worse over time. But this is where, when to communicate, when not to communicate. It makes sense to be tight-lipped on the substance of what's being discussed. But, Justin Trudeau, for all his many faults, did do one pretty smart thing in times of crisis, which was come out occasionally and say, hey, look, we've got your backs. And, it just gave the country a hug. It made them feel better. It reminded them of their resolve. It reminded them of what the greater issue was for everyone. And, occasionally I think we're going to have to figure out who the consoler in chief is going to be in this government. It may not be Mark Carney. It may be somebody in his cabinet. I don't know who the best communicator is out there at this stage, but it may well be the Prime Minister. But the point being that Canadians are prepared to put up with this to a point. I don't know exactly where that wall breaks, but they need to be reminded of what's at stake here.
But, James, in the macro...
All right. Mr. Grizzly? It's very reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot, but it's like, holy crap. They're speaking sensibly.
Yeah.
They're not flinging superlatives at each other. They're not throwing the Prime Minister under the bus. They're literally, I'm seeing something I've not seen in a long time. Let's work together to make the country better.
Mm-hmm. Now,
these are people from different political landscapes.
Absolutely.
And they're all coming to the same agreement. Let's not rush into this. It's going to take some time. Let's not put out a budget right now because it doesn't make sense to do so. It takes time. Let's figure out the tariffs. Let's figure out the steel. You can't come up with a sudden thing overnight that's going to make everyone happy and not hurt somebody horribly in the process.
So what you got, and Doug Ford, again, running his mouth, not helping, is we need to slap those counter tariffs on right away.
Shut up,
like,
Doug.
Yeah, we could do that and provoke him more. Because we're going to be meeting him in 10 days, where he's going to be sitting around a table with a whole bunch of other people who are not really impressed with him. The president of Mexico might be there. She's still non-committal, whether or not, but the invitation has been put out. Right? Zelensky will be there. You got some people in the press running around saying we should invite Modi. Fuck no.
No.
I mean, if the purpose to invite him is so that we can maybe potentially arrest him on our own soil, okay. But other than that,
yeah, I don't want him here. Sorry, dude. You had Canadians murdered.
We're already going to be sitting at a table with one enemy of Canada. Mm-hmm. We don't need to bring a second one. Number two, yeah, I understand it's important to do diplomacy and all that kind of stuff, but diplomacy with someone like that, I mean, Trump, we can't avoid him. He's the biggest trading partner, the United States, and we share a contiguous border. Mm-hmm. But India, it's like, invite him over, give him a seat at the big table with a big media moment and access to all our friends, and like, no, that's the type of diplomacy you do one-on-one.
I'm gonna use Pierre Poilievre's words that were also once said by a British politician. Far away foreign land.
Ooh. Ouch. Those are dangerous words.
I have no hate for India. I love it.
No.
I've spent
Modi.
time. I love it. Modi, I do not care for.
Yeah.
So India,
I love it. We do this on the show, like distinguish between the government and the people.
Yes. No, India, I love you. And don't get me wrong. I love you. I spent a few weeks there visiting New Delhi, and I got to see the Taj Mahal. And India is a beautiful, vast nation. And here's the thing that, it's the most populous nation on earth. And we drove for hours through fields of emptiness. So the most populous nation on earth, and yet, you can hear the sirens. I don't have the door in the studio closed. The most populous nation on earth, and yet we drove for 3 hours, I think, and all I saw was fields and farms. to give you an idea, and it's a big damn country. India is a big damn country. Do not kid yourself. And I love India. I'm eager to go back because there's more parts of it that I want to see. There's parts that I didn't get to see. And the thing about New Delhi is you get to sample all Indian cuisine because each different region of India has their own unique cuisine. And because Delhi is the capital, all of them come together there. So you get to literally have. Now, is it better in another part of the, where it originated from? Probably. Yeah. But look, India, I love you, and I can't wait to get back to see you again. And I sincerely mean that. I loved every second I was there. It was beautiful people, beautiful country. I just don't care for your prime minister.
I was supposed to go once, but that was that trip where I got cellulitis one day before taking off, and it had to be canceled.
Yeah, cellulitis will kill you if it's left untreated.
I know. It was like
I had it in my elbow of all things.
Yeah, I would have.
That one they freaked out about because that's really close to the heart. Right?
I would have
over
loved
500 official languages in India. Wow.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing, right? The conservatives absolutely want us to do something in a fit of pique.
Mm-hmm.
You slap tariffs on us, we're going to slap tariffs on you right away. And like this, when the conversation is already happening between the two leaders, it seems to be going well. Yes, you have Dominique Leblanc and Melanie Joly, who are basically saying, "Do not ask me to negotiate in public." Well, what do they say? What are you aggressive? By what date? By when? It's like, we're not telling you. Now, Althea Raj seems to be particularly upset by that. I don't really know what her issue is specifically. I don't know. It's just Mark Carney is not left enough for her or something. But if you watch if you binge watch the last 5 or 6 at issues in a row, because she has nothing nice to say about this guy.
And I like Althea.
Ever.
I like Althea. I think she's a good writer, a good reporter. I like her a lot. But I'm like, she really has a hate on for Mark Carney.
It's like Althea and Andrew Coyne have flipped places.
Yes. And I'm like, what's...
Coyne actually has some good things to say about Carney from time to time because he's a little bit center right, I guess. Like it's not like when every time Trudeau was mentioned, almost Andrew Coyne would like break into hives.
Yeah.
Every now and then he did say some good things about him from time to time, but most of the time would break out into hives like this. And now it's like Althea Raj. It's like you just say the word Mark Carney like this, and she's just like, boom. Bazooka.
I seriously want to know what that's all about because it does seem strange to me.
Yeah. Even like yesterday, they were talking on the issue yesterday about the open borders bill, which there are some things to be concerned about.
Yeah, we need to do a review of that one.
Yeah, we really do. Like this, but there was a mention of something about something in there. I can't remember specifically what. But just the eye roll from like you could see it. It's like it's just she does not like him, and I do not know why. The only thing I can figure out is because he's not left enough. So right off the bat, he's just bad. But he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
Right now, the open borders bill. Again, we have to read up more about it and figure it out. But because it's touching on so many things, there are things in there, it seems, that were proposed by Harper Conservatives before that we really rejected that seem to be brought back now for the purposes under the guise of protecting the border that maybe don't necessarily have anything to do really with protecting the border. Now, based on the discussion, again, I'm just relating what I heard in the discussion because I don't have any details myself. This is a process that probably would have been started by the public service before in terms of writing because there's no way that they drafted that bill from scratch from the moment they found out they were elected until now, right? So there was probably that bill was probably started and was probably written with including lots of things because there could have been a conservative win or a liberal win. Both were possible at that time. Maybe they even had started before. That one, because around the time that just right before the moment that Mark Carney was chosen, as a Liberal leader, the Conservatives had this big leak. So maybe the public service had written it primarily for Conservatives. And then it's like, oh crap, they lost. So, and maybe it wasn't read through as well as it could be. This is where committee process is going to be very, 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 very important on this bill. But yeah, it could be one of those things, transition new government. It was written originally, because everybody's thinking, well, we're going to need a bill to protect the borders. That's going to come up, right? Given all that's talk to show that we're serious. So that work probably started before the election. So around this time, there are often sometimes things in discussion documents, in legislation proposals that, especially if you were expecting a transition of government or that type of thing, and it doesn't happen, that might be geared more to the other one. So they're really going to have to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. I'm not ready to say yet that these are things that the Liberals are trying to spring on people. We're going to be able to tell through the committee process by how many of those things that are problematic or questionable get removed from there, or watered down, or adjusted, or have extra elements put in to ensure security, right? And these, like, access to being able to access some private information without a warrant, because there are circumstances in which that is possible, but they have to be like the absolute most extraneous circumstances, and then it really needs to be, surrounded. The perfect example we had that was like during the convoy when they were seizing the bank accounts, and we got the decision from the federal court judge, Mosley. It wasn't the process of seizing the accounts that was wrong. It's that the RCMP would go to the bank and says, we need to seize this account, and the bank would say yes. And there was nothing in between that to supervise that. So had the police gone to a judge and said, we need to seize this, or if there was an appeal process that it could go through there or something. But just going to the bank and say, give us somebody's private information, okay, that's not good enough. The police say so is not good enough. There needs to be something else that makes sure that that's okay, that there is actually a valid basis to ask for that information. And if that's there, then it is fully constitutional. Right? So there's going to have to be some things like that might be at play.
I have to go, but before I go, I want to give you a 33-second clip that shows a man in serious mental decline, and he has his finger on the button.
But Chancellor, I just want to congratulate you, and I want to welcome you to the Oval Office.
Thank you.
It's an Oval Office that's in very good shape. We like fixing things up and having them tippy-top like they have in Germany. They do that in Germany very much, and we do it here. We're having a very good run. I also had a great election, great win, won everything. Won the popular vote, all 7 swing states, which is a big deal. It's pretty unusual to do that.
You're muted, sir.
Sorry.
There, I got you. You're
thank
good.
you. Sorry. Sometimes it turns on when we put on a video automatically.
Yeah. You gotta keep your eye on that. That is literally all he wants to do is brag to everybody. I won this. Look at what I've done. Look at all these beautiful things. You've done nothing. You're a useless excuse of a human being. Go away.
You know what he makes me think of? You ever watched Married with Children?
Mm-hmm.
Al Bundy, all these years, like those 3 touchdowns he caught in a single game.
Yeah. In high school.
When he peaked.
Yeah. This is the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing.
I won bigly. All 7 states. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. I'm so smart.
We like to keep it's an Oval Office here in the Oval Office. It's an Oval Office that we like to keep in tippy-top shape like they do in Germany. What? What the heck? That man is not well. He's not. And this is not new. This has been going on for a very long time. And he has access to the button. Remember that. I got to go. My doggy really needs out. I will see you all later. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, if you can share a link to get people to join the chat. We love having people in the chat. We know there's about 1,000 people watching right now, many of them on the Twitter platform. And we're happy to have you there too. Don't get me wrong. But it's great if you're able to join the chat because you can meet some great people in the chat. And if you go to youtube.com/@truenortheagerbeaver you can join the chat right there. Whoops, I meant to take that off the screen. You can join the chat and meet some wonderful people, become part of the damn fam. Gotta go. I will see you all later.
All right, my friend.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Yay. Yes, get on cover. Yes, the Netherlands will hold snap elections on October 29th after Geert Wilders pulled out of the ruling coalition. Yeah. So again, lots of news. And I think Poland recently had some elections, and unfortunately, by a very, 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 very thin margin, I think it's less than 1%, unfortunately, elected someone who's a little more Trump aligned, it seems. So, which is a real shame in that battle for Ukraine, because Poland was the nation that was ready to go now and very much in support of Ukraine. And now it seems that will be somewhat in question with the change in government. But we will keep you posted on developments with regard to that. So yeah, we have a situation here where the Conservatives are basically, and Doug Ford are basically demanding that the federal government do things right away within the next 10 days. Because before we have the G7 meeting, that could just upend that meeting and any progress that would be there. So, like I said, like the gentleman said, immediacy is not the path forward at this time. Slow, judicious, deliberate. Just making sure you can get as much information as you can before you make the next move. Making sure that you're shoring up relationships as much as you can before you make the next move. That's right. If the Prime Minister is either talking to or texting the President of the United States several nights a week, or even potentially every night, and Trump likes him at the moment, retaliating immediately, reactively, reflexively with counter tariffs before you can see whether or not there will actually be an outcome at the G7 meeting. It's probably not the most helpful thing you could do. Again, it'll feel good in the moment. You'll get the 5 minutes or 5 seconds of catharsis. Yeah, we punch back. And then the reaction will have an equal or opposite reaction. Well, equal, I shouldn't say equal, will have an opposite reaction. And it probably won't be equal because in this case, when someone feels threatened or defied, in this case, when it comes to Trump, they will react with a force and violence that is equal or superior to the threat or insult that they feel. And since Trump's policy is, if they swing at you, you swing back twice as hard and twice as often, any reaction is going to be completely disproportionate. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't stand up for ourselves. That doesn't mean that if after a few weeks of working at this and the G7 happens and all that kind of stuff, that there is no movement or whatnot, that we do not do anything. But we do have a luxury of time. Now, with steel and aluminum tariffs, of course, you have, I think it is the mayor, oh God, I think it is Sudbury, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that one. But where Algoma is located, stating specifically that, they're going to be needing some types of supports relatively soon because, how much of Algoma's production goes to the United States is a very significant portion. And all of that is now tariffed at 50%. And he's basically saying that is completely unsustainable for the industry. So it would be able to survive maybe like a week or two, if that. But if there isn't really anything by there needs to be something. So the supports that are going to be needed for these industries and for the workers when it comes to steel and aluminum specifically are going to need to happen relatively quickly, especially if there is no type of resolution of any kind at the G7. And remember, we have like 3 different types of tariffs, right? They're the, I think what they call the 323 tariffs. And then there are the fentanyl tariffs. And then there's just, this latest one here, the steel and the sector tariffs specifically. And there are more coming, right? He still hasn't done anything on pharmaceuticals yet. And, and there's a whole bunch of other things that he would like to attack. So, we could, in all this conversation that we're talking about here, it's like we could sign something else away like this and think, okay, great. Yeah, those fentanyl tariffs are gone. And then 3 days later, okay, now here's some pharmaceutical tariffs for you. And boom. And so it's not as easy as you do it to me, I smack you back right away. Thanks. We do have some luxury of time. We do have some flexibility. We do have that. So we should use it. And reflexive reactions are usually not great. They're just generally considered escalation. But if you leave a little time and you try to work something out and you say, well, listen, we tried, it didn't happen, so we're going to have to, just match you. That is, how would I put it? It may not be received as well. Or any better, I should say, not as well. It may not be received any better, but it could be. It could be. Right? So, and it certainly would be well regarded and well viewed worldwide, because there is a worldwide PR thing going on here as well. Right? How it is that we stand up to them, how it is that we act, if we're as brash and as rash as they are. Then we just, the saying, never argue with an idiot. Right? Because people looking after a while won't be able to tell the difference, or never wrestle with a pig because the pig likes it and eventually you both get dirty. So this, again, conservative thing like show strength, react now, punch back, slap the tariffs now, where's the budget now, where's this now, show us the plan now, reveal everything now. It's like, don't hide anything, don't keep an ace card, tell us everything you're going to do now, reveal your hand. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And anybody in Canada who's serious about wanting to get to a solution rather than just wanting to see our prime minister reach out his hand and slap Trump across the face and go, yeah, consequences be damned. Listen, everybody's entitled to an opinion to express it, but they really should not be participating in this conversation. Because they're not bringing anything serious or useful to it. This is a very high-level strategy and diplomacy situation. Because where we cannot afford to lose mastery of ourselves in public the way that Orange Thrush does. We have the good fortune of having a man who is thoughtful as our prime minister. Let's give him time and space to think. We happen to have a man who's strategic. Let's give some time for a strategy to play out. Now is not the right approach. And I don't know who the Conservatives think they're winning over with this. But it's just nonsense. It makes no sense. And it's just silly and unserious on its face. All right. The last little segment in this conversation deals with what could be some immediate next steps that we can go to. Because, we've talked about the shift in trade and how it's, we're being hit hard. And that international trade is starting to move. We've talked about the importance of taking things deliberate, not, fall victim to the cult of immediacy. But, right, a pipeline is not going to be built in 2 years. There's not going to be a project for a pipeline that's going to use our steel and aluminum that could be, starting next week. We're not going to have a new, even though Flavio Volpe, who we're hoping to get back on the show, is seeing what Trump is doing as an opportunity to bring the Aero car that was designed maybe into full production. You don't want our cars, you don't want anything, you want to like take some stuff away. Okay, well, what if we use our plants to make a Canadian made car then and try to sell that one to the world? Well, again, that's a great way. It's a great thing to do. It's a great way to reorient ourselves to the future. But that too would take time, right? Diversifying production lines, right? Creating more sheet metal, for example. Well, that could be an option, but things need to be retooled for that to happen. That's not going to happen immediately either, right? So, and if you think of the conversation that we had with Susan, the clip that we showed you with New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt, where she's saying, well, yes, there are those things, but there are some things that could be done immediately, like, anything to expand the port, for example, that could be started on relatively quickly. Upgrading certain systems, right? That could be done immediately. So there are some things that can start now, right? There's like immediate term, short term, mid-term, and long range term projects. So at this moment, because we have to move relatively quickly, we have to be able to distinguish between things that can be done now very quickly and things that can be done then, or things that will have to be done later, and then figure out the various types of compensations and supports, not only to bring about these changes like this, but to tide people over, because you want to do this while you still have an industry. If you wait for the industry to fall off all over and then try to create it back again, right? You may have lost it forever, which was the same principle we had when COVID was happening. Right? The conservatives would have been very happy to let all these businesses fail and then let them start all over again. But that would have been very, very difficult. Yes, it was expensive, but it was way easier, and we were able to have the rebound that we had by trying to keep those businesses afloat during the rough period, so that they would still be there, so that there would still be places for people to go to work jobs once we had gotten through the worst of the initial phase of the pandemic. It's a similar principle here, right? If you allow the steel company to actually shut down, good luck trying to reopen it. That's going to be a way tougher job than trying to sustain it. But those supports will have to be there, and somebody's going to have to come up with them relatively quickly for certain industries, because the amount of pain they can take in the number of days is not particularly long. So when we're looking at immediate next steps, interesting conversation here. Hopefully you will find some stuff in it that is of interest, and I will, of course, try to monitor to make sure, in case there happens to be a commercial break that comes in, that I'm able to grab it relatively quickly for you, kids and cubs. All right, here we go.
I would agree with Shachi, but like in the micro, it starts to get pretty tough, right? We talked to Matthew Shoemaker, the mayor of Sault Ste. Marie, where Algoma, more than half of its steel goes into the U.S., and it says 50% tariff makes it essentially unviable. I'm sure it's a similar story in Hamilton. It's not going to be long before those industries start to get into crisis points, and pivoting your procurement to buy Canadian steel, for example, or build big defense projects, it's not going to happen in the time frame that they need it to happen in, right?
Hey, I'm Gunnarola, world traveler, food lover.
Go figure, would happen right away. Just as I was about to cut away. So yes, there we go. Thank you, David Cochran. Right on point and right on time to let me know that I had indeed gotten wrong. It wasn't the mayor of Sudbury, but the mayor of Sault Ste. Marie that I was referring to about those comments. And of course, David Cochran just pretty much reiterated them there, what I was saying in this section. So let's get back to what it is the response will be. And this is James Moore that will be taking it from the question. I'll just back it up a little bit because the commercial may have cut off a little bit.
That they needed to happen in, right?
Yeah, and so then tools need to be put on the table. Everything from EI to worker support to fast tracking. You can stockpile some capacity for building future infrastructure projects. We do have maintenance that we have to do at our ports, at our rail yards that are government owned. Our border crossings. There are things that the government can do to do those kind of things. They're sort of pre-sales and so on for things that we need to do for maintenance and so on. So, if there's no easy answer is the reality of things. So it's going to be a real challenge, and those folks are going to be hurt for quite some time because the belligerence of the president is sort of unabating at this point.
So, Jono, how do you do negotiation management, trade management, and parliamentary management, and political management, with all of that kind of coming together? Because the political pain is going to start to be real if there isn't meaningful progress and you do start to see the deep economic scarring.
And what are we, 4.5 weeks in since cabinet was sworn in? A lot has been done in that short time. But yeah, I think we're in a bit of a honeymoon. To Shachi's point, what's people's tolerance for pain? I think it's pretty short. I don't think it's as short as, some people who are just attacking the government left and right, expecting miracles. But yeah, James was suggesting a few, ideas that I think are good in terms of some band-aid solution short term. There is no macro solution to all of this. I think you're going to have to see some more general supports being considered. Those may be into the fall, and that's the question is how much longer do we have where they're going to cut taxes and do a few measures in the short term? What are those medium-term measures going to look like? I hope, and I don't think that they're being overly optimistic that by the G7 this is all going to be solved. So the question is what are those next steps? How do they figure out where the biggest pressure points are, where people are feeling it the most? Right. There's been a lot of questions. We've discussed it on these panels about a budget or not. That's one of the big questions is we don't know where those supports are most needed, and it may take a couple of months to really figure that out.
Yeah, and look, just so people at home don't get lost in what the president is doing, because it's a lot. What we're talking about maybe getting resolved by the G7 is the sectoral tariffs, the fentanyl tariffs, and those things. It's not the broader renegotiation of the trade agreement. That's a whole other process. Mexico wants to start that in September. Canada says not until 2026. But Andrew, as these weeks and months go by, from summit to reappraisal of things, the financial toll is going to keep adding up, right? And Mark Carney's going to go to these summits in Europe where they're going to make big defense commitments to NATO and in this Build Europe partnership. The bottom line of this government could really take a different turn if there is no agreement with the U.S. and could get a whole lot better if there is some kind of a peace talk that works with Donald Trump.
Well, it's likely there'll be something that'll happen because the piece we're not talking about is how much pain the Americans are in right now, which is significant. And I think that they really are looking at this as it's all self-directed pain with no gain. And there's no obvious upside for them. There's this promise of new factories somewhere down the road, but nobody's seeing it. And at the same time, prices are getting worse. The uncertainty in terms of what their entitlements are with the budget bills are getting worse. So, I mean, it's a very unstable situation down there. And I think there is a real bigger question about who blinks first. The other piece, though, here, and I think this is where we're missing the point of what's really at stake, and that is the question of how do you get these industries to make the investments to do what needs to be done next. Algoma Steel is a great example of this. They had recently talked about how likely because of the disruption in the steel sector, they would need to move away from making coil and start to making sheets. Part of that was they'd need to change their furnace system to move to an arc furnace. That's a massive investment. It will result, obviously, in some kind of layoff of staff while they do it. But that's the type of investment that the business needs to make to become competitive after whatever happens in the cycle. So what people have got, and I think what Carney is trying to figure out, and this government, is how do you convince the business community that we are, in fact, moving forward? We are not just going to get back to what we were. The new money is going to have to flow in from the business community to retool. Certainly the government's going to have to step up with new money to support workers and families, but that will be the transition period to something else. If there continues to be this belief that we're just going to snap back to where we were 6 months ago, that investment won't happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what the problem is, and I think that's where Carney's really trying to push things forward.
No, I think you're right. It'd be folly to think you're going back there because 6 months from now it could all be upended again. Shachi, a quick last word to you, and then we've got to say goodbye.
I mean, I would just say that the task ahead is gargantuan and daunting. And, you really feel like you got to feel for anybody in this situation, the harassed mom of the household who is trying to deal with meal planning and the kids' long-term futures and what's going on with the value of the house and should we get a dog or not. I don't mean to trivialize it, but there's just everything at this moment is urgent and important. The to-do list is massive. And I think from that perspective, Canadians do have some months of tolerance and patience in them to see where this goes. But the communication and the forward communication on this is going to be critical.
Okay, we got to leave it there. I want to thank you all. I appreciated the comments today. Jonathan Kalis, James Moore, Andrew Thompson, and Shachi Kurl.
All right, kids and cubs. So again, right, there's a lot more to consider. Right, the example there that, oh God, I had his name just Andrew Johnson, not Johnson, Thompson, Andrew Thompson, my word, was stating, like when he was talking about Algoma and moving to sheet metal and needing that furnace and all that kind of stuff, right? There is some retooling that we'll have to do. These things are not instantaneous. They don't happen overnight. Some of these things are short-term projects if you have to retool a little bit, but you know exactly where it is that you're going. Okay, that might be a couple of months disruption here or there, or a couple of weeks if you're really lucky, but probably a couple of months disruption, and then you're back at it, or at least you're able to diversify. And in that time, maybe you're able to, find some markets. But snap your fingers and our entire economy is reoriented is not going to happen. Right? Snap your fingers and a full plan, right? That has every strategic and tactical consideration and approach and method in there is not going to be there, right? When Prime Minister Carney, then candidate Carney, said that he had a plan. Yes, he had a plan. He had the broad outlines. He knew the directions we needed to go. But this very, very clear specifics about which industry and how much money and which project that we're going to, that clearly wasn't defined yet. That's why you talk to people and you have consultations and you figure it out, and then you determine what stays, what goes, and how much budget, and then you finalize it, or you French, and the word in French is étoffer. You substantiate your plan. You add more substance. You add some meat to the bone. You have the outline like this, and then you fill in those spots with actual concrete things that you can do, like with a date and by when, and a budgetary envelope associated with it, like this, and a person responsible, and maybe even a little bit of framework regulation around it. But each of these things is a building block, right? And a lot of that work can start now, obviously, but between the time, like right now at that Prime Minister and First Minister's meeting, right? They agreed on broad categories and criteria. Nobody pointed to a project, say, we're going ahead with this one. Particularly on the big ones, right? For which some type of corridor would need to be approved. But yeah, if Algoma does want to change that furnace, that's something that they can decide today. That's something that somebody can say, okay, we'll help you fund that. Let's start doing that like this. You need the supports for your workers, your company. While that happens, good, let's do that. The ports. Oh, you need to change a system so that you can store more containers or load them on a boat faster, and there's better technology and you can do that. Fine. Let's do that right away. That can be done. So there are ways to increase productivity that don't necessarily require spending a lot of money. That's where you can get a little boost. But the very, very big projects, if we're building a new road, if we're building a new rail line, if we're building a new pipeline, if we're building a new deep water port, those are going to take a little time. And we still have to do them because if we are reorienting for the future, those things need to be done. But again, it's not snap your fingers and they happen. Right? So I really liked this conversation. I thought it was sober. I thought it was reasonable. Again, I keep on saying, Canadians are radically reasonable. And that falls into that domain for me. I just really liked seeing people who know what they're talking about and can talk about it in a way that's not inflammatory and that doesn't press the fear button without sugarcoating it, just keeping it real, but letting us know, okay, if we're going to do this, here are some realities and here are some steps, right? And here are some, and these here are expectations that are completely unreasonable to have. This is conversation that does move us forward and brings people along. This is a very quality conversation. So I am very, very happy that this is happening, that people are getting to see that. Great comments in the chats, Kits and Cubs. I saw a comment there saying about the comments appearing on screen don't necessarily coincide with the time of what's on screen. Yeah, that is the case because we put them up ourselves. So, when we have video clips, it gives us time to catch up on some. And it's kind of hard for me to read the comments on the side while I'm trying to look at the camera because the comments are over there and actually be able to put them on. So we sometimes have lots of gaps without comments and some of them appear a little delayed, but we like to show some people, we like to include what it is that you think on the show for everybody else to see, especially those who are not able to be here with the chat with us. So that's why there's a little discordance in the time and you will notice. So those who have observed that, yes, you did observe correctly. And it's not a problem with the computer and you don't have to reboot. It's just when it is that we're able to do this, because our primary focus, of course, is to deliver the content to you. And then the chat feature is a wonderful added bonus that we can add, but we don't want it to distract from the main show while we're doing it. But thanks for pointing it out and raising the question so that we could address it. And here, great comment from Linda M. here. If Canada becomes reactionary, we risk becoming perceived as an unpredictable trading partner just when we're seeking new avenues of trade with other countries. Exactly. How we look to the nations that we are approaching in order to diversify our trade matters. Plus, they're also looking to us, given that we're in proximity, to see what we do, to see if there's anything that they can learn from us. Also, so it's almost like we need to be all the more better than because we are setting the example. It's maybe not fair, and maybe it's an extra burden that we shouldn't have to carry because, well, let's just think of ourselves. But we do live in a world and we do have friends and people are watching us, and what we do does serve as an example. So it does behoove us to be the best possible example in this situation as well. All right, Kits and Cubs, a couple of other little things that are happening here. We've talked a little bit earlier in the show about the drop for the Conservatives, either in support and in this, we've been criticizing, or pointing out, well, criticizing, I guess would be right, critiquing the fact that the Conservatives don't seem to have got the message about learning and growing. I mean, they said that they would, and they took some time to film a video of Pierre walking through a field with his wife saying that he would, but that was the extent of it. We haven't seen much from that point on. It's almost as if they thought, well, if we say in a video that we will, that will be enough for the people who vote for us. But it's not. It's not enough, and it's not happening. And one of the examples of this not happening is the fact that Pierre, as we've noticed before, doesn't seem to be able to pass on an opportunity to make someone else's personal tragedy an opportunity for himself. And there have been two very recent examples here that I am going to share with you. The first one has to do with the fact, as we know, that there were a lot of people arrested in connection with some shootings and some violent incidents that happened in Toronto. It's mainly related to a tow truck turf war. And Pierre Poilievre Nearly half the people arrested for these violent attacks were out on bail or probation at the time. Liberal soft on crime, easy bail laws have unleashed a crime wave in our communities. Bring jail, not bail, for repeat violent offenders to stop the crime. And then we had York Regional Police report. Project Chatter has concluded 23 arrests, over 300 charges, and 32 firearms seized. Large quantity of drugs, including 700,000 doses of fentanyl worth over $7 million seized, along with 130,000 in Canadian currency and 18,000 in American currency. And what does Pierre do? Rather than celebrate the efforts of our law enforcement because the system worked, they got caught. A staggering 700,000 doses of lethal and addictive fentanyl seized that could have poisoned and killed our people. We must repeal liberal laws that go easy on criminals like C5 and instead bring life sentences for fentanyl kingpins and shut down drug super labs, all while helping the addicted by providing treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. We don't have a party leader. We have a professional ambulance chaser. It's not what we need. Certainly not what the party needs. And there's no growth and there's no change. It's exactly what he did before. Something terrible happens, and somehow it's the Liberals' fault. No congratulations to the police force for having done good work. Right? That tweet could have been, wow, had those 700 kilograms of fentanyl gotten out. Wow, that would have been a terrible thing. Phew, good thing they didn't. How great that in this case the system worked. Let's keep funding this type of police investigation work so to make sure that we catch everybody who's involved in these types of activities. It could have gone that way. This shows the Americans that what we're doing to stop fentanyl is serious. Right? He could have taken that and touted it as Canada taking strong action to meet Trump's demands on fentanyl. And this bust is all the more reason, yet more evidence, to make the case for which those fentanyl tariffs should be removed, because clearly we are capable of catching the fentanyl within our own borders before it would even make it there. He could have done that. He could have been helpful. He could have chosen to be helpful. It all depends on the frame that you put on it. But no. The system worked. Be happy. Oh, sorry. I'm talking about Pierre. Pierre Poilievre conservatives. They're unable to be happy. It's just not in their repertoire. Oh my God. It's exhausting, isn't it? Just the constant negativity. Constant negativity. Other little bit of news. It seems that the Conservative Party of Canada in the Senate have picked up a new senator. Somebody has crossed the floor. Yeah, floor crossings in the Senate are a little more rare, but they can happen. And this is a gentleman who goes by the name of, if I'm not mistaken, David Adams Richards, who was, I believe, appointed by Prime Minister Trudeau, if I am not mistaken. Now, of course, it is no surprise whatsoever that the Conservative Party of Canada would welcome a turncoat. That might be a little harsh, but it's absolutely not surprising that the Conservative Party would welcome a turncoat. But the point, while they're all celebrating this coup, they forgot to mention that Mr. or Senator Phillips, in this case, is 74 years old and will be 75 in October when he ages out. So, yeah, they've got an extra senator for a few months which gives me the impression that this announcement might have more to do, and I have no information on this one way or another. But if I am being my slightly cynical self when it comes to this types of thing, it seems to me that this might be more about what position Mr. Phillips has after he leaves the Senate than anything that he will be able to do within the Senate in the mere few little months that he still remains a senator within the Conservative Party. I would say. I could be wrong. That's just my spidey, my BV senses. I was going to say spidey senses, but my BV senses. The other thing that happened yesterday is that Doug Ford decided that 25 days sitting in the Ontario legislature in 2025 so far was a lot of work, was very productive and sufficient. And now it's time for the House to rise until October. The legislature has sat for 25 days this year and will not sit again until October. He sat long enough to put the Canada's Not for Sale hat on and declare a snap election, which he then won, and then came back and sat long enough to fast track Bill 5, which is a disaster, then up and left. And I guess he's hoping that if he's gone between now and October, we'll forget about him for a while, all the crap that he just pulled, and then come back in October and sit another like 20 days or so and then rise for Christmas. The legislature, the Ontario legislature might sit fewer than 2 full months in an entire year. What are we paying this man for? Clearly, it's not for work, because he can't even bother to show up to the legislature. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem that there's going to be too much consequence for him for this because of where he sits in the polls. Despite the fact that he's not particularly liked, we don't have a particular viable or effective opposition still. And according here to Leger, the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party still has a 13% lead over the Ontario Liberal Party in polling. Even with all the crap he's doing, not showing up for work, rising from the legislature after just 25 days sitting in 2025, voting themselves. Oh, yes, they took the time to vote themselves a big pay raise too in that time. And then decided that they weren't showing up for work. Now, I know that when they're not sitting, they're not all on vacation. There's constituency work and there's all that type of stuff. You know, Doug Ford is saying, well, this will give us time to make our plans for like, you just had so much time. But he needs more, it would seem. Yeah, not particularly impressive here. And it's not as if there isn't work to do here in Ontario. Post-secondary education is very much suffering in the province, not properly financed. We had the issue that we've been talking about several times this year about the child welfare system and how there are kids in care who are sleeping at Airbnbs or bed-bug-infested motels or even in the offices of the Children's Aid Society themselves because there's no place to send them. We've had stories of parents with high needs children surrendering them to the Children's Aid Society because the services are just not there. for them. The services are just not there. And it's not like placing these kids in care magically makes those services appear. The services aren't there, whether the kids are in your care or kids are in care. There are problems with the health system that still need to be resolved. There's lots of things going on. Pardon me, kids and cubs, I actually have something in my eye, so I'm just going to go off camera for a second so that you don't have to see me try to get it out of my eye. But if you just bear with me for a second, I'll be right back. There we go. That's better. Sorry about that. It was getting very hard to read and keep my eyes open and look for stuff. And then there's something yesterday that happened to particularly drive that home. And we're going to start by showing you alleged health minister, Sylvia Jones, here talking about this. And I'll tell you what it is, but you'll get
It's
close
devastating when you hear about something that we've had measles vaccine in Canada and around the world for almost 5 decades. And yet we still have individuals who, for many different reasons, are choosing not to get vaccinated. Our multi-million-dollar social media campaign is that reminder to people of the importance and, frankly, the risks of not getting a vaccine.
Okay. What happened, kids and cubs, is that there was a premature baby who was born, and because measles, similarly to HIV, which is a virus that can be what they call vertically transmitted from mother to child, while the child is still in the womb, the premature baby was born with measles. And the premature baby died. Now, measles is one of the most easily contractable diseases, and about 1 to 3 out of every 1,000 cases does result in a death. So it was only a matter of time before there would be one recorded in Ontario. Happens to happen on the same day that Doug Ford and the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party decided that they were going to fuck off from the legislature for X number of months. Notice that when she talks about her awareness campaign, she makes sure to state that it's a multi-million-dollar because the amount of money you put into it is what matters, not how effective it is. Right? There's still work to do. They need to get their asses back. It's unacceptable that they would be hightailing it already. There's a freaking measles outbreak that started last October, and they're not coming back to the next one. It's not like there isn't work to do. Now, kids and cubs, because we like to bring you more than just outrage, we like to bring you a little bit of information as well. But, I mean, this is just so not on, and we deserve better. And we should be demanding better. But it's also important. We have some information. So here we have a conversation it was on Hannah Mansing tonight with its medical contributor, Dr. Samir Gupta, who's going to talk a little bit about the case and the spread of infection in communities across Canada. And there might be some additional information here that you can glean that will be helpful to you. All right.
Okay, now I want to bring in Dr. Samir Gupta to talk more about this case. He's a respirologist joining us now from Toronto. Dr. Gupta, good to talk to you. It's a very sad story here, though, that we're talking about. How does a baby contract measles before it's even born?
It's a great question, Sarah. You know, we heard from Jennifer about this being such a contagious virus, and it's very contagious through the air. But as it turns out, it's also contagious through the blood. So we call that vertical transmission, when infections pass from the mother through the placenta to the baby. And unfortunately, measles is one of these viruses that does that quite effectively. And so you call that congenital measles, or measles that the baby is basically born with. And so if you think about that pregnancy state, it's sort of, there are two levels of concern there. One is pregnant women in general are more susceptible to having severe outcomes from measles. And we've talked about pregnant women being more susceptible to severe COVID disease. There are many different things happening in pregnancy with the immune system so that there's more susceptibility. In measles, there's higher susceptibility to pneumonia, to encephalitis, and to death. So if the mother is sick, obviously not good for the baby. But then there's this direct risk where if the mother gets the virus, it can be passed on. And obviously the baby is very susceptible. And we see all sorts of things. We see premature birth, as was the case here from what we're hearing. We see smaller birth weights. We see miscarriages. We see premature death in utero, even before the baby's born. And then we see in babies who are born with it, more complications. Unfortunately, things like pneumonia, things like encephalitis. And ultimately, we also see a higher rate of death in those very vulnerable infants who have measles.
Dr. Gupta, where are we at in terms of this particular outbreak?
Yeah, you know, it's like what you heard. It's, you know, particularly in Ontario and southwestern Ontario, we are kind of at 100 times what we typically see. You know, we might see 20 cases in this province a year, exclusively people who travel to other parts of the world that still have measles. And, you know, millions of people get this virus around the world, but it hasn't been endemic in our part of the world because we've had such an effective vaccine campaign up to recently when people were still getting their vaccines consistently. So we would see 20 cases, and now we're seeing 2,000 just since October. 140 of those people have been hospitalized. 7%, that is not a small number. That is not a rare event. Over 100 of those people were children who were hospitalized. And this is not the first case of a pregnant person getting measles. I think we've had 39, and we've had 6 cases of congenital measles already. So, you know, this is such a sad event, but it just drives home the point. This risk is real. This is something that we really all have to take so seriously.
Given the risk that you're talking about here, particularly to women who are pregnant, is it safe for a woman who is pregnant to have a vaccination for measles, especially if they're worried about their baby, and perhaps the woman has not had this kind of vaccination before? And then we ask, if they are concerned, if it's somebody we're talking about who has some hesitancy around vaccination, but is hearing this and says, I would like to get just the measles vaccine, but I don't want to have the MMR, the grouping of other vaccines as well. Is that even possible?
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is MMR, MMRV, that's how it's packaged. That vaccine is what's called a live attenuated virus vaccine. So there's live virus in there. It's attenuated or weakened so that it doesn't cause disease, but it triggers that immune response so you become immune. Unfortunately, we don't offer those vaccines to pregnant women because we know that the fetus is very susceptible. So there's this theoretical risk that the live attenuated virus vaccine can actually harm the fetus. So unfortunately, if you are pregnant, it's too late to get this vaccine. It has to be done before pregnancy. And that's why there's such a push, particularly in people who are thinking about conceiving, to make sure they're fully vaccinated before that, because it can't be done. This particular vaccine can't be done during pregnancy. If you do have exposure to measles during pregnancy, you can get something called IVIG, which is a type of immunoglobulins or immune therapy to help reduce your risk, but you can't get the vaccine. And to people out there who, you know, non-pregnant people who want this vaccine, you sort of asked about, can they get just the measles part of it? Theoretically, yes, there is what's called a monovalent measles vaccine. It's approved in Canada. It's found in some parts of the world. My guess is it'd be very hard to find here because every province has a vaccine schedule that is composed of MMR or MMRV, which is the combination of those vaccines for mumps, measles, rubella, and plus or minus varicella. So all very safe, and that combination has been shown to be very safe. And again, measles vaccine, as you heard, 50 plus years of experience billions of people have had it over that period of time. Extremely safe vaccine, extremely effective vaccine as well, Sarah.
Respirologist Dr. Samir Gupta, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So there, kids and cubs, hopefully some very useful information for you. Said, if you are doing family planning at the moment and you are thinking of bringing a new one into the world, you know, if you do not have your MMR shot, getting it is probably a good idea because you cannot get it while you are pregnant, because that would be dangerous. So hopefully some information or some news you can use in that. I also want to take a stop here to say hello to Kit Cassie, who's joining us. I know you've been working nights, and Kit Cassie made this comment, and I just want to raise it up that it hasn't to do with this. I'm sort of shifting over, but mentioning about tariffs and how they impacted farmers and all that kind of stuff. And just in case you didn't see our episode, because I know you're working nights, at the first minister's meeting, along with the prime minister, they did specifically speak of those tariffs that was affecting farmers and then that was affecting the fishery that were imposed by China. So hopefully there will finally be some action on this and people paying attention to that, because as has been rightfully commented both by Kit Cassie and Kit Saucy, the farmers and the fishermen, fish harvesters and all that um, are often left behind when this type of things happen. So yes, it looks like there will be some concerted and dedicated action towards that, which would be really, 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 really nice. I hope that they follow through with that. All right, kids and cubs, before we go, some very, very quick hits for you. Let's see what we got here. It's more like some housekeeping stuff, really. But the Liberals proposed tax decrease from 15% to 14% was unanimously voted for in favor. So that is unanimously voted for in favor. Yeah, sorry, that was redundant. Was passed on a unanimous vote is what I meant to say. Had I gotten it right the first time? And so that is now a thing. It's now passed, and that will go into effect. I believe it's to come into effect on July 1st. The government introduced a Ways and Means motion to make the tax changes last week, and all MPs voted in favor of it yesterday. So that will pass. The Liberal government has also tabled legislation that would grant citizenship to people born in a foreign country to Canadian parents who were also born outside Canada, after a similar bill failed to pass through Parliament last year. So that's Bill C3. It was introduced by the new Immigration Minister, Lena Metlidge-Diab, on Thursday, and it would reverse a change that was made by the former Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, that disallowed Canadians born abroad from passing citizenship to their children unless they were born in Canada. So in other words, for example, if you are someone that was not born in Canada, but you are now Canadian citizen, and you should have all the rights and privileges of every Canadian citizen, but you had a child while you were away, right? Probably not on vacation, but let's say you were working outside the country, like for a year or so. Because under the manner in which Stephen Harper changed the law, your child would no longer be a Canadian citizen, would not be a Canadian citizen, because you weren't born in Canada, even though you have Canadian citizenship now. So it was really something creating two classes of citizens, because in Canada, right, a Canadian is a Canadian. A Canadian, whether you were born here or not, once you have your citizenship, we do not have two classes of Canadians. We just have Canadians. So why it is that some Canadians, when they went abroad and their child was born there, that their child had citizenship and others didn't. Racism. Most likely. The assumption. So, yeah, not sure why that decision was made in the first place and how it was justified, but that was a big wrong that was corrected. Now, this happened as a result of a 2023 ruling from the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, which found the change to be unconstitutional. Duh. Another way that Stephen Harper, many of the ways that Stephen Harper tried to screw us over, and the reason for which he, even though conservatives love him, he was actually terrible because not only was he terrible for the economy, but he was also the most overturned prime minister in the history of the country, overturned by the courts. Every single time he was overturned by the courts was something unconstitutional, a violation of our country's highest law that he tried to ram down our throats or sneak through the back door. No wonder he's heading the IDU. Yeah. So that Ontario Superior Court of Justice had given the federal government until last spring to correct the issue. So this was something that was on the order paper in the last parliament. So the Trudeau administration had introduced a bill to amend the Citizenship Act last May, but it hadn't yet received royal assent when parliament was prorogued. So basically, they reintroduced it as, so I think last time it was C71, they reintroduced it in this session as C3, and they just basically lifted all the text and just put it in there and said, so nothing has changed from the bill that was being considered previously. So that has been tabled, and we'll see if it will pass. It'll be interesting to hear the debate from the conservative side of the House on that one to try and find a justification for why it is that certain citizens should have rights and privileges that others don't, just based on the fact of where they were born. Finally, Prime Minister Carney appointed 39 Liberal MPs to parliamentary secretary positions, which comes with a specific portfolio and salary increase. Parliamentary secretaries work closely with the file's corresponding cabinet minister and can be called upon to provide answers during question period or deliver government founding announcements. Notable appointments include Cody Blois and Rachel Bendayan, both who will serve as Carney's parliamentary secretary, so the Prime Minister's personal parliamentary secretary. Both were included in Carney's original cabinet after he won the Liberal leadership, but they were dropped when the ministry was revamped following the recent federal election. And in these 39, there are other names in there that were in that cabinet, that sort of temporary cabinet or transitional cabinet that are now such secretaries. And there are also some former ministers that are there as well. So, for example, Liberal MPs Ryan Turnbull and Rob Oliphant returned to their parliamentary secretary roles in the finance and foreign affairs portfolios, though Oliphant will share his duties with Mona Fortier. Mona Fortier was once the president of the Treasury Board, yes, which is an important, sort of like the financial quarterback when it comes to how money is actually being spent. Longtime MP Sherry Romando was named the parliamentary secretary to Defense Minister David McGuinty, while Juno-winning musician David Miles, if you remember the song Inner Ninja by Classified, he was doing the vocal part on it, the singing part of it. So he is named to the Canadian Culture and Identity file. Other former cabinet ministers were given parliamentary secretary roles, including ex-social development minister Jenna Sudds, who will work on the public services and procurement portfolio, as well as Ali Assasi, who was the country's first minister of government transformation, who will now focus on U.S. trade and intergovernmental affairs. So yeah, just gives you a little example. These positions are important. So 39 other people, not part of cabinet, but assistants to people who are in cabinet. They could be people that, if the cabinet minister's not there, like, for example, could go testify in committee, for example, and that type of stuff. Almost half the parliamentary secretaries are MPs elected for the first time in April. It should be noted that not all former cabinet ministers were given parliamentary secretary roles, as Jonathan Wilkinson, Bill Blair, Nate Erskine-Smith, and Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor were among those excluded for the appointments. So, a double hit for Jonathan Wilkinson and Nate Erskine-Smith. And it would seem that we made a comment on a few shows ago about Trudeau's EQ versus IQ. And we said that, Carney is more IQ necessarily than EQ. It seems that in the case of naming the cabinet, these people that were in cabinet before were waiting by the phone for a call that didn't come, and that they had to call and say, am I in? And then find out that they're not. Nobody proactively called them and said, you're not in, but thank you for your service. And there was one person, it would seem, word on the tweet is, that did get a call saying that they would be in, and turns out that they weren't and did not get a call. So to let them know that things had changed, just found out. They had to call themselves. That type of management of relations, not a good thing. If that's what's going on, that's not particularly a good thing. It's the beginning of a mandate, so everybody's happy and all that kind of stuff that they won. So it passes, and there won't be too much fallout. But you can't do that too many times, and that should not become a habit because there are consequences to that with regards to cabinet unity. So you have to treat people well. Parliamentary secretaries receive an additional $20,200 on top of their MP pay of $209,800, with 29 cabinet ministers, including Carney, 10 secretaries of state, and 39 parliamentary secretaries. More than 45% of the Liberal caucus has been given an elevated position within the government. Other people who we've been talking about who have positions, Jaime Batiste, who was the first Indigenous person to try to throw their hat in the ring for a party leadership, federal party leadership, becomes the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations. So he'll be working with Mandigal Masti on this, which is a kind of interesting. No, she's at Indigenous Services, so he'll be interesting. Okay, so he won't be working directly under the Indigenous Minister of Indigenous Services, but will be working on the Indigenous file. So now we have two Indigenous MPs working specifically on Indigenous files, which is very interesting. Sean Casey becomes the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Veterans Affairs and Associate Minister of National Defense. Let's see, do we have Leslie Church, who lost the by-election in St. Paul's originally, but then won the seat in the election. She is the parliamentary secretary to the Secretaries of State for Labor, for Seniors and for Children and Youth, and parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Jobs and Families and Persons with Disabilities. Let's see, who else do we have here? Names that we know. Corey Hogan, who won in Calgary Confederation, becomes the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources. So a Calgarian with the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, who is a man, again, Tim Hodgson, who worked at Hydro One and has managed to strike deals with Indigenous peoples. So that could be a good duo. Anthony Housefather, a name from the previous government that was really well known, becomes the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience. Kevin Lamoureux, another veteran of the party, becomes the parliamentary secretary to the leader of the government in the House of Commons. Carlos Letao, who was a finance minister in the Couillard government in Quebec, provincial, becomes the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Industry, so gets a bit of a financial portfolio in that sense. Yasser Naqvi becomes the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of International Trade and parliamentary secretary to the Secretary of State for International Development. Talib Noor Mohammed, out from the West Coast, becomes parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation. And those are the bigger names that we know of that were there. So I believe that I've caught you up on all of the housekeeping as well. A very productive show, I think. Kids and Cubs, that's the end of our time together for this week. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us because we enjoyed making this for you, especially today. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, The Pepper Master, The Miss V Mysteries by Corvin Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca for their wonderful and generous support. They've been with us since the beginning and have never wavered. So yeah, I'm really happy that they're with us, and I hope they stay with us for a long time. We normally don't push them too hard, but if you have the opportunity to use their services, that would be absolutely wonderful. Father's Day is coming up, and if you have someone who likes to grill, maybe some sauces from the Pepper Master might be a good little treat. Just say. Kids and Cubs. I forgot what comes next. I normally do this by rote, and I've just drawn a complete blank. Oh, yes. Ah, yes, of course. Pod page. How could I forget? Sponsored by the Ray Girl. I'm just being silly today. Yes, if you are busy and on the go and you don't have time to watch live with us, well, we're portable. We have a podcast version exclusively. No audio cast, just sound for your ears only. So if you are, very, very, very busy and you can't sit down and listen to the show, well, if you scan that QR code, that will bring you to our pod page, podpage.com/the true north eager beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. Or if you are watching, you can scan that QR code and then you go there, you click subscribe. When we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you, right to your favorite podcast feed. You don't even have to go looking for us. Now, if you'd like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, well, given that Kid Cassie is here, hello, dear friend. It's so nice to see you. We missed you. We miss you. I'm sure Kid Cassie and Kid Elaine would be beckoning you to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page where our buttons like, share, and subscribe are just waiting for you to smash with them. And it's pride. So smashing is very encouraged during this particular season. Give them a little tickle. It makes us happy and it helps us with the algorithm. If you happen to be listening to our podcasts on any podcast feed that allows you to give stars and reviews, please do as well. We won't tell you how many stars to give us at all. But there are certain numbers that we like. However, that's totally up to you as to how many stars you will give us. But thank you so much for doing that. Every little bit helps. And of course, when you retweet us with a little word from you saying a comment about what it is that's there, or just saying how much you like the show or how much you like us, that also helps us a lot. So thank you so very much for your assistance in that. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us in yet in other ways, we do incur some financial costs in order to bring this show to you. And if you would like to help us with those, we would be very, very grateful. You can do that by saying, "Atta Beaver, you did a good job today." Or, "Atta Grizzly, we really appreciate you. Here's a mug of hot chocolate," or "Here's a cup of coffee." A little treat always warms the heart. So if you are able to contribute to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we fight to keep our beavers moist. The cup is still not empty. I just can't help myself. If you're able to make a contribution, it is very, very helpful. And you also earn our undying gratitude, which is very, very, very important. But if you are not able to contribute financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter the most to us. And we like to hear from you. So please write to us, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. That's the address at which you can also send a direct transfer to us if you want to avoid dealing with the US CE Tech Pros and want your transaction to be fully Canadian. But if you want to write to us and let us know what you think, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is the address. What do you think about the show? Some guest suggestions, some questions from our Q&A show, all of it. Please write to us. And if you want to reach us through our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, as well as on the Shitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home. And if you happen to be listening on YouTube, either live with the Damn Fam or later at your own convenience, right down here in the chat. Well, in the comment section, I should say in this case, leave us a little comment. We read everything. We're not able to get back to everyone, but everything that you write to us and everything that you donate goes back into the show in order to improve it and make it a more enjoyable experience for you. So thank you very much for all that you are able to do to help us with that. We are very, very, very grateful. All right, because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, please remember that you have some by-elections coming up in Alberta very soon. And it seems that the candidates for these by-elections have indeed now all been confirmed. Have all been confirmed and they are registered. So if you would like to know who they are, Well, kits and cubs, we're here to help. So we'll put this up for you so that you can see. Might have to, let's see how we do that this time. Let's do that. And we might have to take down the visuals. Yeah, we will have to do that indeed. So we'll do that. So if you are in Edmonton Ellerslie, your candidates are for the UCP, Naresh Bhardwaj; for the NDP, Gurtesh Singh Brar; for the Alberta Party, Caroline Curry; for the Wild Rose Loyalty Coalition, Pamela Henson; for the Alberta Republican Party, Fred Munn; and for the Liberal Party, Manpreet Tiwana. If you are in Edmonton Strathcona, Ravina Chand for the Alberta Republican Party is on the list, Darby Ray Crouch for the UCP, Naheed Nenshi for the NDP, Samuel Petrov for the Alberta Party, Don Slater for the Liberals, and Jesse Stretch for the Wild Rose Loyalty Coalition. And if you are in Old Didsbury Three Hills, Cameron Davies for the Alberta Republican Party, Tara Sawyer for the UCP, Beverly Toes for the NDP, and Bill Tufts for the Wild Rose Loyalty Coalition. Those are your confirmed and registered candidates. If there's one that you like in there, well, then please, if you're able to volunteer, please do so. And remember, also, democracy is not something that friends allow other friends to do alone. So plan your vote, talk to people, make sure that they get out. By-elections usually have a lower turnout. So, please make sure that you exercise your franchise. Okay. I think I'm just going to stick with that one for today. There's lots of other stuff, but that's the main one for today. Let's see. I guess it's down to the words of wisdom, kids and cubs. And I am somewhat bereft of them at the moment. But given that we are talking about today, the Trump Elon sort of thing, listen, there is so much doom and gloom going on around that even though the potential consequences of this could be terrible, for the day, we laugh. We laugh because it's good to laugh. And these particular people take themselves so seriously that mocking them is probably the most damage that we can do. Our mockery is probably one of our strongest weapons. So mock them. And don't worry about the guilt, because guilt is a useless emotion in this case. All right, kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. Now, can I get a little audience participation? Given that Mr. Grizzly isn't here, on the count of 3, I want you all to say at the same time, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. On 1, 2, 3. Oh, music to my soul, kids and cubs. Of course, your loyal queen lives to serve. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, a couple of little details before we go away. It seems that Howie Mandel has been tapped to host a Canadian version of The Price is Right. That will be interesting. Also, if we're talking about Canadians who make us proud here, we've got two people here, Chloe Dunbar and Shariana Haas, who dominated the women's T47 100 meters and 200 meters at the WPA Grand Prix with gold and silver in both events. These are some absolutely fantastic para athletes that we have in this country, and they deserve a little profile for having achieved such a fantastic result. So there they are. We definitely congratulate them on that success. That is a great achievement, and we are so very proud of them. Of course, Team Canada at the AmeriCup under 16 will be facing Mexico in the quarterfinal. They are playing very well so far, and they swept the round robin. So we definitely want to encourage them. And as well, Kits and Cubs, you know that yours truly happens to be on crutches at the moment. And while from the old Canada series, it seems that on June 1st, I believe 1963, a certain Hollywood bombshell was in Banff and showing us that indeed crutches can be glamour and fashion, baby. Yes, that is indeed, if you did not know, and I'll try to make it a little bigger, none other than the lovely and fantastic, oh darn, Marilyn Monroe. There she is. Rocking the crutches, of course, wearing heels. Yes. So, just saying, I'm fashion forward. Hey, we do what we can. All right, kids and cubs, I think that's all I got for you today. So please, please have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday. And go Oilers! See you soon. Take care of yourselves. Amour et gros, gros, gros bisous.